at a sleep train near you, but also check out the Sealy, the Beauty Rest sorted. They're not gonna take any brands that aren't top notch. And what might be good for somebody might not be good for you. If you have a discerning taste, and the great thing about it is, the great thing about Sleep Train, the people there don't mind if you are a little picky. If you take your time, if you take 4 visits before you realize, that's the bed for me. Interest-free going on, interest-free for 3 is going on. But really, take three more days. We're talking about it ending Sunday. So if you want to get a great deal and pay no interest, I would say get there before the weekend comes. That way you can have your bed for you as that same day delivery gets it to your bedroom tonight.
Head in a Sleep Train. Kick a mattress or 2, as they used to say. Actually, nobody used to say that. Anyway, head on. What? You said it?
I've said it before.
You ever said kick a mattress or 2? Okay. Rob has said it. That said, head in. Corvallis, Albany, Eugene, and Springfield, Sleep Train. Tell them Bill and Rob from the Wake Up Call sent you, please.
Holloway in London and the Wake Up Call. News Radio 1120 KPNW.
I think we have an army of gremlins.
Why is that?
I just do. I think the army of gremlins have invaded the station today. I think we need to call the exterminator.
I feel like I've had a week's worth of snafus over here, and we're not even. It's like a half hour into the show.
Yeah, I know. I know. Same way in the other room. It's a
okay. Oh, so it's not just me.
No.
So
I mentioned to you. Well, you maybe were getting ready to do the Sleep Train spot, didn't hear? I made the comment to you. Can we just do a restart, a reboot to the day? just a Control-Alt-Delete, unplug it, plug it back in, whatever.
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do. I'm not thinking a soft reboot. I'm thinking a hard reboot. We just need a hard reboot. We'll start over again.
Okay.
So, anybody going to the Bernie Sanders little soiree today?
12 o'clock noon.
12 o'clock noon. Anybody going to it?
And I'm sure there's people that his supporters are going to be there, but I think even his supporters, a lot of them are like, really? Is this like the after tour? Is this the county fair tour when after the
he's actually
after
had
the
a
hits
career?
have all been washed up? I mean, they're getting rid of hundreds, more than half of his staff nationwide. He's going to be up there. He'll be passing out stuff. He'll be holding up a sign, and then he'll run up there on stage.
And kind of, in some ways, there's a certain irony to a guy that's always talking about, about employees and treating the employees right, and talking about the little man. And so, what has he done? Oh, he just fired a whole bunch of little men and women. He just sacked them. And I realize he's out of money, but gee, welcome to the whole theory of socialism to begin with. See, everything's fine until you run out of other people's money.
I have heard just the contrary, that he hasn't. I mean, it's not a money deal. It's just, you can kind of see. I mean, apparently those little tiny donations compared to Hillary's, big, large donations, amassed quite a little sum of money. So I don't think it's a money situation. I think it's more he sees the impending future. Why is Kasich
going off topic for a second? Let's agree that on the Wake Up Call we call her Shrillery as opposed to Shill. Everybody calls her Shillery. I like Shrillery better.
Okay.
So let's.
Why is Kasich giving the stiff arm to Eugene? He's hitting Portland and Medford. And can't even do like a drive-by high.
You would think that what?
Well, he doesn't even have representation in the voters pamphlet. So
well, true. Yeah, he's hoping.
So much for the imprint.
Yeah, this is the guy. Here's what cracks me up about the whole Kasich thing. All right, so he and Cruz after Colorado. All right, they're pounding on Trump, saying, "Hey, man, everybody's known for a year how this whole thing with the delegates was supposed to play out, and you couldn't figure out how to do it. Not our problem. That's your loss. If you can't figure that out, How are you going to be president, and how are you going to negotiate with the Chinese, and how are you going to do X, Y, and Z? All right. Now you got a guy that can't even figure out how to fill out the forms and pay the fee to get into something as simple as the voter's guide.
Okay, do you think he is doing that nationwide in the other pamphlets of the country?
It's very possible.
I mean, you make it seem like it's...
He's known for over a year.
I mean, to have somebody and have it not happen, okay, maybe you hold him responsible, but I don't see it as his responsibility. I mean,
well, you could say
ultimately it is.
You could say the same thing about Trump. Trump's the one that's supposed to be running around giving speeches, and it's his underlings that are supposed to do, you know, the dirty work of, okay, you've got to, you know, you got to figure out how to get these particular delegates. They've got a screwy system in Colorado. You know, you hire the people, you put them in place, you have them do the work. Well, same thing can be said here. You can't even put together enough of an organization to figure out how to fill out the forms to be in the voters pamphlet. I mean, if you can't even come up with an organization that can figure out how to do that, what kind of I mean, the argument can be made, and the guy is a governor, and I know he's got skills, but you could still make the argument. If you can't even figure out how to put a team together that can fill out the form to get you in the voters pamphlet, which can be done online, you say that you're qualified to be the president of the United States? You can't even figure out how to use your debit card so that you can get in the Oregon ballot? Not on the ballot, but in the voters pamphlet? I mean, come on. Talk about incompetent.
I wonder how many...
come we are the ones that get stuck with the understudy? Okay, it's sort of like you pay the $500 to go to the Broadway play, and then you find out that, oh yeah, it's the second understudy that's doing the lead today. You know, you don't even get to see James Earl Jones. You know, you get to see the guy that played Cleo on The Cosby Show.
It's like being a golfer and spending, you know, your whole year waiting to go play this incredible golf course in Hawaii or, you know, Pebble Beach or wherever. And that's the day that they're aerating the greens and sand everywhere. And you're like,
right.
Seriously?
And so what?
They get a refund?
So what you're doing is you're playing putt-putt down at the local
on the beach
gas station. Yeah. So anyway, what a fun time, eh?
Hey, let's think about a fun time. Let's get somebody qualified while we have the opportunity. Qualify for our grand prize. That is the Cuthbert season pass. Everything that is going on at the Cuthbert. And all week we've been doing it, and really just taking caller number
1.
Let's take caller number 2.
Oh, man.
Caller number 2.
You have to complicate everything. You probably
so close.
It's that logic.
Hang up and dial real quick.
That's the same logic that's kept Kasich out of the voters' pamphlet.
KPNW, good morning. Who are you?
Harder.
Hello?
Yep.
Who's this?
This is Daryl Chapman.
Hey, Daryl, you are caller number 2.
Thank you.
You're qualified for the Cuthbert. Out of curiosity, hopefully you've been listening to the lineup. Is there any show that speaks to you?
Not really. I'd like to get those KISS concert tickets over in Bend.
Yeah, I bet you would. Unfortunately, that's not in this organization's schedule. No KISS at the Cuthbert, but we appreciate you qualifying. Hang on, Daryl. Wow. First guest out of the box coming up on 1120 KPNW. Hang on.
How would you like to make up to $20,000 a month flipping houses with no risk? Hi, my name is Nick Vertucci, and over the last 2 years, my elite team of house flippers have flipped over 800 properties by using my 3-step flipping system that guarantees quick profits. And this year, we plan to double it. I'm growing my team in your area, and I'm looking for help. I have more cash available than deals right now, so I need you. All interested candidates, call now and take an inside peek of my flipping system, I'll rush you out a free copy of my Fortunes and Flipping CD kit that will show you how easy it is to get in, get out, and get paid immediately flipping houses if you come join my team.
Call 1-800-449-3149 now to get your free flipping kit. Call 800-449-3149 and you'll also get free tickets to a training workshop. That includes a free meal, a smartphone watch, and a USB flash drive loaded with Nick's powerful information as free gifts just for attending. Call 800-449-3149. That's 800-449-3149. Call now.
The Veterinary Hospital is Eugene, Oregon's premier pet hospital. Open 7 days a week, our fully licensed and AHA accredited team offer the latest in therapeutic laser technology to promote healing and pain management for your pet. The Veterinary Hospital. We care about pets and their people too.
Listen to In the Garden with Mike Darcy this Saturday, 9 to noon, for gardening tips that'll help make your garden bloom. Listen to the experts or call in with your own questions. Sponsored by Plant Fashions Plus, superior plants grown by gardeners for gardeners on Jasper Road in Springfield.
Keep District Attorney Patty Perlow fighting to protect you. District Attorney Patty Perlow is fair and honest. Before becoming District Attorney, Patty Perlow's tenacity put in prison a former law enforcement deputy who had raped his teenage daughter. As District Attorney, Patty Perlow fights crime and saves taxpayers' money by winning grants to safeguard U of O students, to enforce child support decisions, and to protect victims and witnesses. That's why District Attorney Patty Perlow has won support across the political spectrum, including the Safety and Justice Action Fund, the Lane County Peace Officers Association, the Eugene Police Employees Association, and Sheriff Byron Trapp.
I'm Lane County Sheriff Byron Trapp. I need Patty Perlow in the District Attorney's Office to continue her important work for our community and law enforcement.
Paid for by Keep District Attorney Patty Perlow Committee.
Okay, everyone, Mother's Day is next week. Do you know what you're getting for your mom? If you're looking for the perfect gift, check out this sweet deal from Sherry's Berries. Right now, you can get their famous freshly dipped gourmet berries starting at $19.99. I was so excited to see this deal because Sherry's Berries have become a big tradition in my family. We all love them. You have never seen dipped berries like these. They're huge, sweet, juicy, and covered in decadent toppings like chocolate chips and chopped nuts. And right now, they're starting at $19.99. That's amazing. Plus, you can pick your delivery date, and the berries are guaranteed to arrive fresh, delicious, and beautifully packaged. My mom is going to be super excited when she gets her Sherry's Berries, and I bet your mom will be too. Hurry, because Mother's Day is next week, and this incredible deal ends this Friday. The only way to get this amazing offer is to go to berries.com, click the microphone in the upper right corner, and enter secret code 300. That's berries.com special code 300.
Shipping charges not included. Customer satisfaction guaranteed or your money back.
KPNW weather brought to you by Ramjack West. Do you have foundation problems? Ramjack can fix that. Get your free quote at ramjackwest.com.
Good morning. If you're headed out in the next few minutes, we have mostly cloudy skies. Temps right now in the mid to low 40s with light winds out of the northwest at 5 to 10. I am tracking a few isolated fog banks out there, but I expect those to burn off by about 10 a.m. Now this afternoon, the mostly cloudy skies will become partly cloudy as high pressure does move into the area, but the high pressure is fairly weak and it may allow a few isolated showers to develop late in the afternoon into the evening, but if these get going, we don't really expect any real accumulation out of them, just some light sprinkles. Highs look to be in the upper 60s to the mid 60s, even a couple of low 70s down by Medford, and by the time we get to the weekend, mostly sunny skies and temps back in the 70s, if not low 80s, but we are tracking a very weak storm system that could bring some light showers before that on Friday afternoon. I'm Chief Meteorologist Chris Nation, the NBC 16 Weather Center, hoping you have a fantastic day.
This is Congressman Peter DeFazio.
It's great that you're listening to the Wake Up Call here on 1120 KPNW, and I always find the show a great way to get the day started. We'll take that. Yeah, Bill?
The Wake Up Call with Holloway in London. News Radio 1120 KPNW.
I'm already feeling like this morning that we should have brought in the hand puppets. It would have been fun. 641 News Radio 1120 KPNW. Well, I mean, we have been talking all morning long, well, not all morning long, but at least for in the last segment about, of course, a couple of presidential candidates that are coming to Oregon and will be appearing today, making a couple of speeches. And so the topic that everyone that's politically aware of is talking about, of course, is the presidential election and the primaries. Joining us, he is a decorated American diplomat. He's a presidential historian. He's a professor of leadership and an award-winning writer. He was, at age 33, named by the President of the United States to the prestigious Senior Executive Service as a charter member. He was the youngest career public official ever to reach that distinction. He's worked for 2 different presidents. Joining us on the Wake Up call this morning, Emilio Ayadice, and he has just penned a new book entitled 2016 Selecting the President, the Most Important Decision You'll Ever Make. Thanks for joining us on the Wake Up call.
Good morning, and good morning to you and your listeners.
Actually, we could have spent the entire segment here just going through your resume. You have had quite the career.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been interesting. I've done a lot of things in the last 40 years, and it's been a lot of fun. And now I'm funneling it all into writing and research, and trying to help us sort out where we are politically at this time in our history.
All right. So, is this election in 2016 any more or less important than, say, 2012 or 2008 or 2004, 2000?
Well, without a doubt, it's one of the most important elections in American history.
Why?
The first 20 years of a century really do determine the tone and the priorities for the future. And right now, in 2016, in particular, the issues that this administration is going to face are huge. The economy, social policy, the environment, and the global war on terrorism, among other things. These are all life-threatening issues. And the President of the United States, the only planetary leader, as I explain in the book, is that person who will set the policy for the next generation and into the rest of this century. For instance, just on the Supreme Court, it could be 3, maybe 4 Supreme Court justices that could be appointed in the next 8 years. So those people, certainly for a generation, will be setting domestic and perhaps international policy for America. That's why the president today, is going to be so vitally important for the future, and really has the fate of humanity in their hands.
All right, and let's just be very clear here. In this book, you don't choose a candidate. You're not saying who to vote for or anything else, correct?
No. All I've done with extensive research is outline, first of all, what are the leadership traits that a president needs, and I use examples from presidential history as to what those vital traits are, because we really should understand what is the commander-in-chief test, so to speak. What are those really essential traits that a president needs, especially today? But we can go back and look at history, and history will guide us. And we have so many examples. I outlined about 15 of them, and I would say that our greatest presidents have had about 10 of them.
Okay, and give us just like the top 2 or 3 traits in particular that a president has to have.
Well, today, I believe the first trait really is being a reformer. We've been talking about this throughout the campaign, that we have to reform the system, the political system, the immigration system, our tax policy, our economic system and social system. So we keep talking about reform. Well, we have to have a reformer who brings in a brain trust of very good people who will be able to do that and work with the Congress, work with the people in order to make those changes. So first and foremost, a reformer. Secondly, the brain trust, who are going to be the best and the brightest that they bring in, has to have relevant experience, the right kind of experience in order to sit in the Oval Office. And also has to have character, and I would say emotional intelligence. Character is trustworthiness, is integrity, but emotional intelligence really is key here, because we can't afford to have someone in the White House who's impulsive, who's not mentally balanced, who really can't keep their cool when they have to make some very, very serious decisions that affect the whole planet.
Okay, so pretty much at that point, you've excluded everybody that's running for president. That was a joke. Do you think that the American public pays close enough attention to current events, current affairs, and the world around them to actually make an informed decision? Or is, the act of voting anymore, like so much in America, simply a visceral activity?
I don't think Americans really do reflect enough and actively participate in the political process because they don't see it being important for them. We don't have a national crisis that everybody is committed to or that everybody has a stake in that requires their participation, like the Great Depression or a war. Yes, so that's one of the factors. But this indifference is very, very serious today. And that's why I wrote the book, because I'm saying that we can't not vote. We can't afford not to vote. We can't afford not to reflect on this, especially now. We can't allow ourselves to make a mistake or to fail. But few people, very few people, are making this choice, making the decision. And that's a big mistake for our democracy. This is all about our freedom and all about our democracy.
Now, this was quite a while ago, and was reading an article by a former Army general who made an assessment, and what he said was that his opinion was the United States right now was in the middle of what he called a cold civil war, as opposed to a hot civil war with shooting, like the Cold War, not the shooting, but still there was this war going on. Do you think that is a valid assessment, that we are in this country right now in the middle of a cold civil war?
I don't think so. I think we have skirmishes, you could say. We have very serious social problems. I don't see a cold civil war going on. I live in Europe, and with the migration crisis here, some people would say we have a cold civil war going on where the left and the right are constantly arguing as to what needs to be done. The same thing is going on in the United States. But what we really are having is a period of great dissatisfaction and great anger. That leads to conflict. So right now, I wouldn't call it a cold civil war. I would call it a prelude to a period where we risk a great conflict in the United States because we're risking our democracy, our freedom. Once you lose that, then all you have left is violence to make choices. We don't want that to happen.
Again, the book, we're out of time, unfortunately. Again, the book is 2016, Selecting the President, the most important decision you'll ever make. What is, before we let you go, what is the one single thing that you want people to take away from this book? The most important thing?
I want them to realize after they look at this book that they have to have a commitment to voting in this election, voting intelligently, and also discussing this from the bottom up, with social media, as to what the qualities are, and to really start debating this. And your program and other programs like this are really helping. So I want readers to really reflect and to be preoccupied about this election, and that's what the book is about.
All right. Thank you very much, Emilio. We appreciate it. Emilio Iodice on the Wake Up Call. It is 6:51 News Radio 1120 KPNW.
When you think fishing or firearms, think Mazama.
Local, family-owned Mazama is your firearms headquarters and home to the Build an AR wall. Custom build an AR with all your favorite parts. They are Lane County's only CZ dealer, and they have a large selection of shotguns, rifles, handguns, and scopes with free bore sighting.
Team Mazama is eager and knowledgeable. They offer gun safety and concealed carry classes. Conveniently located on West 11th in the same parking lot as Lowe's. Get to Mazama and get hooked on the good life.
When you think fishing or firearms, think Mazama.
Looking for big savings from local businesses? Check out OregonEdeals.com and save. Right now, save on certificates from Ceramic Tile Supply Northwest and Trade Mill Border Cafe. Just go to OregonEdeals.com.
I'm hooked on OregonEdeals.com. I'm saving big. When the sun comes out, the critters are up and moving. SM Gun Shop wants you to be ready. Get a head start on varmint season with huge savings on Black Hills 223 plus special wall-to-wall pricing. It's only at SM Gun Shop on River Road in Eugene, Lane County's most established gun store.
We need experienced, ethical, and compassionate leadership on the Board of County Commissioners. We need Pat Farr. As Executive Director of Food for Lane County, Pat Farr fought to feed hungry families. The Register Guard wrote, Farr was, in his own understated way, a passionate and powerful advocate for the needy. Anyone who has ever listened to Farr talk about hungry children in this community could not help but be deeply moved by his conviction and sense of urgency. During the 110th Congress, Pat was recognized on the floor of the United States Senate for having dedicated himself to bettering the lives of Oregonians.
I'm Pat Farr. Our community is at a critical point. With the ever-evolving problems of homelessness, jobs in the economy, public safety, and government transparency, I have 30 years of experience serving this community. I can tackle these problems.
With Farr, you have a candidate that is experienced, qualified, and concerned. By May 17th, vote to re-elect Pat Farr for North Eugene County Commissioner.
Paid for and authorized by the committee to re-elect Pat Farr for County Commissioner.
We'll do it live. The Wake Up Call with Holloway and London.
We'll do it live.
1120 KPNW.
This is boring as burnt toast.
I'm Gary Conley with today's Money Minute. Recently I told you there's nothing mysterious or underhanded about banks, at least in principle. They simply take in deposits from those with surplus funds and make loans to those who need to borrow money, collecting fees and the spread. The spread is the difference between the interest rate they charge the borrowers and what they pay depositors. To figure out how sound a bank is, all you need to know is how good they are at gathering deposits and making loans that are repaid on time. Of course, that's not as easy as it sounds because of the complex nature of how these deposits, called liabilities, and the loans, called assets because they're money owed to the bank, are accounted for. Plus the plethora of regulations banks are forced to operate under. Here's the nugget. When things go wrong in the banking system, like they did in the recent meltdown, the cry is usually to punish banks with more regulations. Like Dodd-Frank, which Congress passed in the wake of the collapse, is a couple of thousand pages long and as complicated as Obamacare. But as long as the taxpayers bail them out, more regulation is the opposite of punishment for the big banks, because complicated rules favor those with resources to deal with them. Real punishment would be something quite different. The details soon. I'm Gary Conley, and that's today's Money Minute.
Good morning to you and yours. If you're headed out that door in the next few minutes or you're already out and about, we do have mostly cloudy skies. Temps right now are in the mid to low 40s with light winds out of the northwest at 5 to 10. And I am tracking some light fog off and on out there. Now, I expect that to burn off by 10 a.m. Now, we do have high pressure moving over the area, but it is very weak. That means this afternoon we'll see partly cloudy skies, about a 20 or 30% chance of a few isolated showers late in the afternoon, but no real accumulation. Temps look to be in the mid to upper 60s as that high pressure starts to shoot these temps up. Now, as we move into the nighttime, we're looking at mostly cloudy skies moving back into the area, and we are tracking the next storm system set to bring in some light rain Friday afternoon, but your weekend still looks almost perfect with sunny skies and temps back in the 70s. I'm Chief Meteorologist Chris Nation in the NBC 16 Weather Center, hoping you have a fantastic day.
The Bloomberg Market Report, sponsored by Pacific Continental Bank, serving your business and community in Eugene for over 40 years.
This is a Bloomberg Market Minute. Stocks are falling in early trading after the Bank of Japan unexpectedly refrained from adding to stimulus measures. Right now, the Dow is down 99 points at 17,941. The S&P 500 is lower by 9 points, or 0.4% at 2086. And the Nasdaq is down 8 points at 4855. Investors are also assessing the latest earnings. UPS, MasterCard, and Ford are among companies beating estimates in the latest quarter. Elsewhere, Comcast is acquiring DreamWorks Animation for $41 per share cash and says the deal has an equity value of almost $4 billion. Abbott Labs is buying St. Jude Medical in a $25 billion deal, and AbbVie is acquiring drug maker Stemcentrx in a deal worth almost $6 billion. U.S. gross domestic product rose by 0.5% in the first quarter. That was a little bit less than what economists were projecting. Gina Cervetti, Bloomberg Radio.
And now, more wake-up call.
Have no fear.
From the Whitmer Brothers Studios.
I'm out of ideas. Anyone?
It's News Radio 1120. KPNW.
Hey, you remember that secret meeting, that recording of Romney at a
private fundraiser. It was a defining moment in 2012. Romney talked about the 47% of voters dependent on government. He said, my job is not to worry about those people. I'll never convince them that they should take personal responsibility and care for their own lives. Well, the drive-by media erupted. Romney never recovered from that. Well, in the May issue of The Atlantic, Professor Neil Gabler wrote a long article about a different 47% of the population. And I promise you, this 47% will not put the drive-bys in an uproar. The article is called The Secret Shame of Middle-Class Americans. And Mr. Gabler writes about a survey of American consumers by the Federal Reserve Board. The Fed was stunned by the answer to one question: how would you pay for a $400 emergency? 47% said they would have to borrow the money or sell something. They wouldn't be able to come up with the money at all. Gabler admits that he knows the problem well. He said, I'm in that 47%. This 47% of the population are middle-class, responsible people. They pay income taxes, but they live paycheck to paycheck, barely keeping their heads above water. The reason this 47% will not be harped on by the media in the 2016 race is because they are the direct result of Obama's economic policies, the same policies Hillary Clinton promises even more of. Hey, you getting a new phone? Well, you're not alone. You know, every 2 seconds, one of us accidentally breaks our phone. So protecting the phones in your family, it's a smart idea. But if you have insurance from one of the big cell phone carriers, you're paying way too much. Stop overpaying. Switch to Square Trade phone protection today and start saving hundreds of dollars. Insurance from Verizon or Sprint can cost as much as $11 a month. Plus, you could pay up to a $199 deductible when you break your phone. Square Trade family protection plans are less than $4 a month per phone. A family of 4 can save over $500 a year. So protect your new phone with Square Trade. Stop overpaying and protect all the phones in your family with Square Trade instead. Visit squaretrade.com. That's squaretrade.com.
Square Trade does not cover.
We report, you decide. This is News Radio 1120 KPNW, Eugene, Springfield, USA.
Fox News Radio, I'm Lisa Brady. The U.S. economy off to a slow start to 2016, and Wall Street's heading in the wrong direction. The Dow down 69 points in the early going, though Japan's getting part of the blame. Fox Business Network's Adam Shapiro is live at the New York Stock Exchange.
Good morning, Lisa. Let's start first with Japan. The Bank of Japan was expected to announce new easy money policies. One of the things that they do in Japan is they actually buy stock in their country, but the bank did nothing. They left well enough alone, and that really upset investors. The Asian market sold off dramatically, and that started to sell off here in the United States. But as you pointed out, the Dow is actually clawing back. We're off the session lows. We were down triple digits. Now we're down only 67 points. The other issue that's going on is first quarter GDP. It's at its lowest pace of growth in 2 years, just 0.5%. A year ago, it was 1.4%. Lisa?
Thanks, Adam. Donald Trump and John Kasich downplaying Ted Cruz's latest move, picking Carly Fiorina as a running mate. Fox Radio's Rachel Sutherland live in Washington.
Lisa, Trump says Cruz has a zero chance of winning and chose a candidate who failed in her own effort at winning the nomination. And he told a Fox News town hall it's too early to make announcements about running mates.
I have a lot of great people. I just don't want to talk about it now. I'd like to finish the deal first. You know, Cruz has no path to victory, and neither does Kasich.
A spokesman for John Kasich says most Republicans will meet the Fiorina pick with a collective shrug. Trump will campaign in Indiana's day with legendary basketball coach Bobby Knight. Lisa.
Thanks, Rachel. Late word that Vice President Joe Biden is in Iraq, an unannounced visit to help resolve a political crisis that's hindering efforts to defeat ISIS. A Senate hearing on the ISIS fight just underway.
We need to stop fixating on military details and look at the bigger picture.
Armed Services Committee Chair John McCain says current policies left a vacuum in the Middle East that's been filled by extremist groups. Defense Chief Ash Carter telling Congress recent policy tweaks are making progress. Fox News Radio, fair and balanced.
Based on actual cases, results may vary, not a solicitation for legal services.
If you owe for back taxes, payroll taxes, or if you have not filed, the IRS will search you out. They are the most powerful collection agency in the world. One call to Wall and Associates, and your tax problems can be solved. Listen.
I was worried I would lose my house. Wall met with me in person.
I was scared. Wall and Associates got my levy released in 48 hours.
They settled my back tax debt for a fraction of what I owed.
At Wall, we solve tax problems. Call 800-285-2933. That's 800-285-2933. You always speak with a live person.
I never had to talk to the IRS again.
Wall stopped my wage garnishment.
Wall solved my back tax problems for a fraction of what I owed.
Call Wall and Associates now for a free face-to-face consultation. Call 800-285-2933. That's 800-285-2933. 800-285-2933.
We have now won 17 primary and caucus states.
But Bernie Sanders lost 4 out of 5 on Tuesday, and now he's cutting hundreds of campaign staffers and talking about impacting the agenda at the Democratic convention. After all the recent bluster from North Korea's leader, this has to be embarrassing.
South Korea's military saying the missile appeared to lift off and then seconds later it fell. A test 2 weeks ago of a similar mid-range rocket failed when it exploded, U.S. officials said. Next week, North Korea convenes a rare congress of its ruling party to cement the rule of Kim Jong-un. South Korea's leader has said the North may be ready to do a 5th nuclear test, and if it does, Park Geun-hye said it will be a serious ramping up of its standoff with the global community. In the Asia Bureau, Alistair Wanglin, Fox News.
A different kind of marijuana debate in one of the states that's already legalized recreational use.
Before the first retail marijuana shops open in Alaska later this year, the State Marijuana Control Board is considering how to allow people to smoke or eat edibles on site in a cafe or shop, like in Amsterdam. Of the 4 states that have legalized recreational adult use, this would be the first to allow on-site use. This would also clear up a lot of existing confusion, as Alaska already has marijuana social clubs where people smoke but they don't sell. According to the Alaska Dispatch News, only 1 club still exists without a legal challenge. While the state law allows on-site consumption and the board is writing the rules now, each local jurisdiction would have the final say for on-site consumption in their towns. Jessica Rosenthal, Fox News.
A couple in Georgia is reportedly suing Snapchat, claiming the social media app speed filter tempted a woman to drive too fast. This ended with a 100-mile-an-hour crash that left another person suffering brain damage. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News Radio.
Hey, it's KPNW 705 if you're keeping track. Let's see, you are in Eugene or Springfield or a surrounding community, and you're listening to 1120 KPNW at 705 Pacific time. Today, partly cloudy, giving way to cloudy. Got a lot of clouds in the forecast today, 62 for the high. Light rain possible with that high pressure getting a little bit of a hit, but it regains its composure for the weekend. So get ready for that. Partly cloudy and 44 tonight, 49 degrees at 1120 KPNW and cloud cover. Talking to the professor last hour, talking about, trusting that whoever gets elected can put together a brain trust, a team of crackpots, somebody that is maybe
a team of crackpots,
higher and more intelligent and in the know than you. I sit there and I think about the story that came out that the Donald had volunteers sign this, this kind of no compete, but basically saying that you can't disparage or demean anything related to him, a company from him, a family member, or any family member's company. And there's like a window of time that you can't do that. He had everybody sign that. Coming out in the Washington Examiner, they have a bit of the
that's smart.
The contract. And I'm thinking,
that's smart.
Do you really think? I mean, the variable is who he puts into. Should he become president?
Right.
Who he surrounds himself with, and that's That's kind of like a make it or break it part of the equation right there. If you trust that he can do that, or does he want people that are always, going to sit there and cower and bow down to him?
Well, I mean, there's a difference between cowering and bowing down to him and just keeping your mouth shut when you're in there about what goes on inside. I mean,
but I mean, if
leaks,
if things are headed to a direction that you see not a good conclusion, are you going to sit on your hands, or are you going to say, President, I beg to differ?
Well, I think the Don would say this as well as anybody else. That's something you negotiate before you take the job. I mean, if you're, for instance, if you're going to be the, let's say the chief of staff, arguably the singularly most important person in the president's circle.
Agreed.
If you're going to fill that position, you need to lay out and with the Don exactly what it is you're going to do, what your powers are going to be, and how far you can push those powers when, things are flying apart around you. And, whether you're going to be able to say, Mr. President, you're completely on the wrong track.
You're talking from his point of view. I'm talking about the selection process in which the Donald puts together his staff. Does he, I mean, if you're not qualified, or if you are qualified and you don't even get, on the short list, if he doesn't consider you, it's a moot point.
Yeah. Well, I agree with that. I mean, if he doesn't consider it, it's a moot point. But
I'm saying he needs to, the conversation needs to happen. But before that, even that conversation takes place, the selection process is pretty important. Well, as far as
that I would agree with, but then again, it is that way with any president, that selection process and how they go about it, and what the methodology is behind it. Every president's going to do it a different way. They're going to have a different person, whoever, Trump is going to have a key advisor or a couple of key advisors that know how the game is played. I mean, the guy, you don't get to be a billionaire by being a complete rube. You don't just stumble into it and go, oh, I'm a billionaire. Look at me. Huh. You gotta have a little bit going on and on the ball, and the ability to know when an employee is a good employee and when an employee is a bad employee, and delegating authority. So at least he's going to have a couple of people that are going to be able to say, look, this is the way we need to go about this. What do you think, boss? Okay, let's do it.
Hope it's that simple. All right. Traffic looking good. No real commute snafus to talk about if you see anything upon your travels anywhere in Western Oregon surrounding. Let us know and we'll pass it on. Coming up, Brenda Bordelon and, yes, a Medal of Honor. A recipient coming up later in the show, right here on 1120 KPNW News Time 710.
A tasty meal can make your day. A solid breakfast puts a good spin on things at the beginning of the day. A great meal in the evening can usually salvage a lousy day. Burrito Amigos can definitely cover the bases and be first in rotation or back cleanup. Fast and hot, Burrito Amigos breakfast burritos are fresh and tasty. You choose the meat. The bacon burritos have 2 types of bacon. The machaca burritos are made from certified black Angus. Or get tasty and zesty chorizo. Link sausage, huevos ranchero made with green salsa, or go meatless. On the back end of the day, let Burrito Amigos do the cooking while you enjoy other great items off the menu like quesadillas, tostadas, tamales, wet burritos, even something more unique like lengua burritos or Mexican cheesesteak burritos. Let Burrito Amigos be the beginning of a great day or the salvation to a bad one. Smiles all around from Burrito Amigos, the friendly ones in Eugene and Springfield. I'm Bill London, and I approve all the breakfast burritos and about half of the rest of the menu. The other half I haven't eaten yet.
Message and data rates may apply.
Hey guys, ever wonder why getting into shape isn't as easy as it was when you were 25? Well, it's not your fault, it's Mother Nature's. Because once you hit 45, your body has less youth-boosting free testosterone, and that can make it harder to get into shape. That's why you need Nugenix. Nugenix is a unique man-boosting formula powered by Testofen, a patented key ingredient clinically researched to help boost your free testosterone levels. Nugenix helps you feel stronger and more energetic, more passionate too. Get a complimentary bottle now by texting STRONG to 99000. Nugenix is so effective it won GNC's Innovative Product of the Year and was also named GNC's #1 selling men's vitality product. Get yourself back into shape and be more the man you want to be with award-winning Nugenix. Nugenix is available at many fine retailers, but you can only get your complimentary bottle by texting STRONG to 99000. Again, text STRONG to 99000.
It's the big happenings in the Valley and the state. This is the Wake Up Call on 1120 KPNW with Bill London.
Good morning. This look at the news brought to you by Burrito Amigos, the friendly ones, featuring great breakfast burritos and fresh brewed locally roasted coffee for a tasty start to your morning. Here's what's going on. 2 candidates for the White House are going to be in Oregon today. Brad Ford has the details.
Presidential candidate Bernie Sanders will be in the Eugene area. He'll hold a rally at Island Park. He comes to Oregon after losing 4 of the 5 primary elections on Tuesday. This will be Sanders' 3rd visit to the Northwest. The rally's free and open to the public. They're asking you to RSVP on the Sanders website. Republican presidential candidate John Kasich will be in Portland for a town hall-style event. This follows the announcement that Kasich will focus on Oregon and New Mexico, while Ted Cruz will focus on Indiana in an attempt to take delegates from Donald Trump, who won all 5 states in Tuesday's primary. Brad Ford, KPNW.
Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders is expected to take the stage around noon today in Eugene, just a couple of hours before Republican John Kasich's town hall in Portland. Well, the Eugene City Council has voted to scrap a $1 million seismic upgrade to the yet-to-be-built Eugene City Hall, and along with that, decided to toss out having private offices for 8 city councilors. This after the city's project manager had reported that the cost of the new city hall would run about $25 million. Or approximately $7 million more than the $17.8 million that the council had authorized for building the new structure. However, the savings will not be $6 or $7 million. It's going to be at least $1, though. Although a new estimate is currently being figured by the city manager's office. The proposed seismic upgrade, as we said, was valued at $1 million. According to the city project manager, the new higher dollar amount is being driven by construction inflation and cost overruns of demolishing the old city hall. And as an aside, if you think the city hall as it's being built isn't going to be dealing with cost overruns, you are an optimist. Lane County Administrator Steve Mokrahajski has released his proposed operating budget for the 2016-17 fiscal year that begins July 1st. It's pretty much an old story for the county. The loss of timber revenue and secure rural school payments means $4 million worth of cuts are in store. The general fund gap is actually $6 million, but the proposed budget calls for $2 million to be pulled from reserves. As for the rest, Mokrahajski says the county will change the way technology and vehicles are purchased. The county also changed how employee health care is funded.
Shift from a fully funded health plan to a self-funded health plan. Next year, we're anticipating we'll reduce our expenses by around $2 million across all funds.
The silver lining is that no one's going to get a pink slip, even though 22 positions are actually going to go away.
While these are funded, budgeted positions, they're all vacant because we've done a number of things over the course of the past year. We had a voluntary separation plan, and we generated over $500,000 in net savings as a result of that plan on an annual basis. We have identified a number of positions that we are going to try to continue to provide a level of service with fewer staff.
The first public hearing on the proposed budget is scheduled for 5:30 Tuesday, May 3rd at Harris Hall. You can see the budget on Lane County's website. Well, next year's legislative session is still 9 months away, but Oregon lawmakers, make that Oregon Democratic lawmakers, are already scheming on a transportation package and how to shove it through the next legislative session. Brad Ford has more.
Joint committee to develop a transportation package that'll be considered in next year's session. Democrats control both chambers, so Democrats are co-chairs, Republicans are vice chairs. Senator Peter Courtney says there's a lot of work to do, and they need to start now. They'll tour transportation trouble spots and hold hearings outside of Salem. They'll consider highways, bridges, ports, and rail connections in need of repair and modernizations. The governor's not saying how much she's willing to spend. The money would come from higher gas taxes, registration, and license fees. I'm Brad Ford, KPNW.
A coalition of grocers say they're dropping their November ballot proposal that would have allowed grocery stores throughout the state to essentially sell hard booze. The Northwest Grocery Association says it's going to shift its focus and resources on defeating another ballot proposal, Initiative Petition 28. That would impose massive tax hikes on businesses earning over $25 million a year. Now, this is a gross receipts tax. This is not on net. This is on everything. The tax hike proposal would raise an additional $2.5 billion a year from Oregon's businesses. It's easily the most controversial proposal headed to Oregonians this fall. Labor unions backing the proposal are still gathering signatures. Grocers say they'll tackle the liquor privatization issue again within the next year. Republican Senate candidate Sam Carpenter has endorsed Donald Trump for president.
The American people are angry, and we need somebody to turn over the apple cart in Washington.
Carpenter's support for the Donald is rooted in themes both men have espoused during their respective campaigns so far.
The House and the Senate are full of career politicians who don't get anything done. They talk and they talk and they talk. And the theme of this campaign is that we're going to cut through political correctness.
The Bend businessman hopes to meet Trump when he visits the state prior to the May 17th Oregon primary election. 2 Malaysian nationals have been sentenced to prison for smuggling endangered wildlife into Oregon. Brad Ford has that story.
In 2013, federal officials did a routine search of a package that was being shipped to a house in Forest Grove, and they found a mandible from a helmeted hornbill. That's an endangered species. Federal agents started ordering more wildlife from 2 men in Malaysia. They bought 3 orangutan skulls, 4 helmeted hornbill skulls, and parts from several other endangered species worth $95,000. The 2 men eventually traveled to Portland, where they were arrested. They have been sentenced to 6 months in prison, fines totaling $25,000, and 240 hours of community service. Brad Ford, KPNW.
Well, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers Northwestern Division has reached an initial determination regarding the set of ancient remains known as the Kennewick Man. Those remains are now considered Native American under the Native American Graves Protection and Repatriation Act. I can't pronounce that word today. Or also known as NAGPRA. According to Michelle Coffey with the Army Corps of Engineers, all the tribes that had laid claim to the Ancient One before the decision are out of luck.
The Nez Perce, the Umatilla, the Yakima Nation, the Colville tribe, and the Wanapum Band. Because this is now a new determination, we will actually need a new claim submitted.
As for what's next for Kennewick Man, the Corps will review the priority of custody for any Native American tribe who submits a claim. This includes the Cultural Affiliation Review, which, simply put, means the tribe from which the man is a decedent. The remains are going to be kept at the Burke Museum in Seattle during the process, which could take a very long time. It's 7:21. This look at the news brought to you by Burrito Amigos, the friendly ones. You're up to date from KPNW.
Wake Up Call Sports on News Radio 1120 KPNW.
They say Damian Lillard took a while to get going last night. Is putting it lightly. He didn't make his first field goal until the third quarter. Scored 16 of his 22 in the fourth. Trailblazers take advantage of no Chris Paul, no Blake Griffin out with injuries to take a 3-2 lead in the series on the 108-98 win over LA last night there. C.J. McCollum led the Blazers with 27. Mason Plumlee, 10 points, 15 rebounds. Trailblazers have a chance to close out the series on Friday at home. I think it's safe to say that the Golden State Warriors aren't completely dependent on Steph Curry to be a good basketball team. Without the reigning MVP, the Warriors went on to brutalize the Houston Rockets 114-81 in Oakland. Klay Thompson put down 7 3-pointers en route to a 27-point tally for Golden State. Rockets, it's set down, and the Warriors await the winners of Blazer Clippers. The Charlotte Hornets have won now 3 in a row after last night's 90-88 win over Miami. They take control of that series 3-2. More civil war last night. This time it goes by way of the Ducks. OSU made it interesting, but the Oregon Ducks hold on to win 7-6. Helpful for the Ducks in helping them forget the UCLA sweep last weekend. NFL draft starts tonight. The LA Rams and Philadelphia Eagles have traded up, pretty much traded the farm off to get the first and second picks. Are expected to call names like Wentz and Goff in some sort of order. Word is Chip Kelly is interested in DeForest Buckner in the 7th pick. Wake Up Call Sports brought to you by Max Muscle. Don't get sold, get educated by a certified nutritionist. On Franklin across from Market of Choice. News time, 7:22.
KPNW weather brought to you by Ramjack West. Do you have foundation problems? Ramjack can fix that. Get your free quote at ramjackwest.com.
Good morning. If you're headed out in the next few minutes, we have mostly cloudy skies. Temps right now are in the mid to low 40s with light winds out of the northwest at 5 to 10. I am tracking a few isolated fog banks out there, but I expect those to burn off by about 10 a.m. Now this afternoon, the mostly cloudy skies will become partly cloudy as high pressure does move into the area, but the high pressure is fairly weak and it may allow a few isolated showers to develop late in the afternoon into the evening, but if these get going, we don't really expect any real accumulation out of them, just some light sprinkles. Highs look to be in the upper 60s to the mid 60s, even a couple of low 70s down by Medford, and by the time we get to the weekend, mostly sunny skies and temps back in the 70s, if not low 80s, but we are tracking a very weak storm system that could bring some light showers before that on Friday afternoon. I'm Chief Meteorologist Chris Nation, the NBC 16 Weather Center, hoping you have a fantastic day.
Ramjack leads the way in foundation repair. Protect your investment. Get your free in-home evaluation at ramjackwest.com. Check out our exceptional online reviews, then choose Ramjack.
CCB 146906.
Hi everybody, this is Don Essig with today's Motivational Minute, sponsored by Eugene's #1 electrical contractor, Builders Electric. Are you pretty busy right now? Is your schedule so full you feel completely stressed out? Well, the very perceptive Sidney J. Harris once said that time to relax is when you don't have time for it. In other words, probably the best time to use the old phrase about stop, look, and listen is when you need it the most. I'm guessing that if you take a few minutes and stop your busy schedule, sit back, take a big breath, take your eyes off that computer screen, and take your mind off how stressed you are, you'll find yourself refreshed and ready to continue. Try it today. You might really like it. This is Don Essig with today's Motivational Minute. I'll be back tomorrow. Until then, have a positive day.
This Motivational Minute was brought to you by Builders Electric, providing honest, reliable, and positive contracting throughout the Willamette Valley since 1960. That's Builders Electric, CCB number 4296.
I'm Jeremy.
And I'm Chris with Home Comfort. When we say the one to call,
the one means no matter what the problem.
From security lighting, generator systems, panel changeouts, service upgrades, with technicians available 24/7.
Or HVAC, from routine cleanings to breakdowns. Home Comfort's an independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer. So our highly skilled technicians will ready your house for any season.
Make one call to 541-345-2838.
Home Comfort, the one to call.
Where's your finish line? Set a goal, make a plan, get results. Max Muscle offers customized nutrition plans by a certified nutritionist. Learn what and how much food to eat, when to eat, and how it relates to your body. Stop into Max Muscle today, Franklin Boulevard, across from the Market of Choice.
My dad came to live with us last month, and it's going pretty well.
I feel like I never have time for myself.
With him being around more, it really lets us catch up on things.
His memory isn't what it used to be.
We get up and we have coffee.
He usually wakes up at 4:30.
Then we go for a walk.
He needs lots of my attention.
I do need to keep an eye on his medications, though. That's important.
Sometimes I feel like a pharmacist.
I'd say John and the kids are adjusting pretty well.
They honestly have no idea what I'm going through.
It can be a little challenging.
Help.
But so far, so good.
I could really use just a little help.
For those dealing with the daily struggles of caring for a loved one, we hear you. That's why AARP created a community with experts and other caregivers for advice, tips, and support. Together, let's help each other better care for ourselves and the ones we love. Visit aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
The Wake Up Call with Holloway in London, 1120 KPNW.
News Radio, 1120 KPNW. Hoping all is rolling well with you this morning. I don't know about you. I didn't see any of the fog that was mentioned in the weather forecast. But again, it could be what we like to call in the wake-up call as that mystery fog that occasionally hits the area. So anyway, not seeing any of that out there so far this morning. Still coming up this hour. I'm looking forward to this. We're going to have Clint Romeshay joining us on the Wake Up Call. He is a Medal of Honor recipient, and he will be coming up this morning at right around 7:40. He's going to be talking about his new book, Red Platoon, A True Story of American Valor. And it is, the guy has a natural writing talent. He's very good. All right, so changing the subject. I don't know yesterday or not whether you had the chance to actually take some time. Maybe you listened to it live or viewed it live on cable. Donald Trump making a foreign policy speech yesterday. It lasted about 40 minutes or so, and he ran down some of the big points of his foreign policy agenda, which, short on details, I think, but a lot of people looking at that saying, all right, this is the first time that Donald has actually stuck to a script, reading it off of a teleprompter. And for that, at least, the performance was not bad. To talk a little bit about it this morning, political reporter, National Review author Brendan Bordelon joining us on the Wake Up Call this morning. I'm assuming that you actually had a chance to watch it as well. Did you kind of come away like I did, saying to yourself, well, for maybe one of the first times during this campaign that he actually sort of looks like he's trying to be presidential?
Yeah, you know, it wasn't actually the very first time he used a teleprompter. If you remember, he also gave a teleprompter speech at APAC. It was also a foreign policy-heavy speech. And, yeah, it was also similarly kind of jarring. You're not used to that, the kind of measured tone coming out of Donald Trump. And, you know, I think the bar is set pretty low for the kind of presidential speech that you expect to hear from Trump. So in that way, yeah, I think he did well. I don't think he's going to really. Yeah, I don't think he's really going to convince the establishment types and sort of the DC foreign policy intelligentsia that he knows what he's talking about. I mean, the speech really did contain its fair number of contradictions. I mean, you talk about China and trying to use them in order to make sure that North Korea gives up its nuclear weapons program, and then at the same time you say, well, we need China, we need to basically launch a trade war on China and slap all these tariffs on them. I mean, you're not going to have both of those things happen at the same time. So I think, there was definitely some contradictions there, but in terms of delivery, yeah, it seemed vaguely presidential, which is, I guess, the best you can get right now out of Trump.
Well, all right, but comparing it to everybody else, no worse.
On foreign policy?
Well, on foreign policy, I'm just talking about in terms overall of coming across as being quote-unquote presidential. I mean, John Kasich can't even figure out how to get into the voters pamphlet in Oregon. Being in Oregon, we're noticing this. And Cruz hasn't really come across as being terribly presidential either. So, I mean, did he hurt himself at all with the speech yesterday?
Definitely not. I think it's important now that it does look like he's starting to sew up the nomination to at least show to Republican leadership, who I think are going to have to come around, as much as they might dislike Trump and feel like he does not represent their ideological persuasions, that he does not sort of represent the Reagan era conservatism that they've grown up with and are now trying to essentially safeguard against him. that he can sort of speak their language and at least play their game to a certain extent. I don't know how much it's going to help his rank and file supporters. Like they didn't come to see a speech delivered via teleprompter on important, if kind of boring foreign policy issues. They want to hear him rip apart his rivals and talk about how much smarter he is than them and the terrible campaigns they're running, which, to be fair, I mean, they have run pretty terrible campaigns. So, but, nobody really wants to hear that. No Donald Trump supporter really wants to hear him talk about that kind of stuff. But obviously, the people who he's going to need the support of at the convention in July do, I think, want to see that he can at least play that game. And in that respect, he did okay yesterday.
All right, when you talk about the Republican establishment, how big of a percentage of the actual Republican voters out there do they even make up?
Well, I mean, they're two different things. I mean, the Republican establishment, I guess you can loosely say these are the activists, the party leaders in their respective states, the people that have been involved in politics for decades, who go to every convention, who have worked on basically every single presidential campaign, going back to like the 1970s. And these are people who are very committed to the party and its future. And then you have Republican, I guess, for lack of establishment voters, many of whom I think would describe themselves as conservatives, right? Reagan-era conservatives. These are physically conservative people. They generally want a more muscular national security policy and tend to be fairly socially conservative, not necessarily evangelical conservatives, but fairly socially conservative people. You're not seeing that with the Trump voters. The Trump voters, I don't know if they're a new kind of Republican. They're kind of a Republican who used to not come out and vote quite so much, or maybe just, something that was sort of overlooked by the party for a long time. These people tend to be economic populists. They're not really, concerned with free markets or capitalism. They're concerned about protectionism, free trade, making sure trade deals are not somehow hurting them. They're also, tend to be more, I guess, concerned about national identity than the traditional social conservative issues, and they tend to be a little bit more wary of muscular foreign policy and interventionism. So these are not your typical Republicans. I think a lot of them probably would be described as Reagan Democrats that might have come over to the party in the 1980s. And I think you see it when Trump tends to do better in open primaries than in closed primary states. A lot of these Trump supporters I don't think are your traditional Republicans, and they might be being brought into the party as a result of Trump coming in.
All right. The big question is, though, I mean, once we get through this and Trump is crowned as the nominee, which it appears is going to happen, are the other Republican, I'll just call them the other Republicans, the folks that are voting for the Trumps or voting for the Cruzes and the Kasichs, et cetera, are they going to go, okay, I may not like the guy, but I'm going to vote for him simply because I can't stand Hillary?
That's the big question. I know not all of them are. I don't think it's going to be a uniform, rank and file. Everyone's going to follow step. I actually think that the establishment Republicans, and by that I mean the party leaders, the people who have been working for the Republican Party for decades, a lot of these delegates, and big names, governors, senators, that kind of thing, who have come out against Donald Trump, they probably are going to line up behind him because they tend to be team players. They tend to be more concerned with party than with ideology. I think a lot of the rank-and-file conservatives, Reagan types from the 1980s, people who are very concerned with free markets, that are very concerned with a strong foreign policy, I think they're going to have a hard time with Donald Trump. So far, he has not spoken their language really on anything, and maybe he could pivot, but when he gets to the general election, I doubt he's going to pivot towards them. He's more likely to pivot towards moderate, even somewhat progressive policies in order to try to get as many Democrats to sway away from Hillary Clinton. So I think it's going to be hard to pull a lot of those rank-and-file conservative voters, many of whom are now breaking for Cruz, over to Trump, even if he is the Republican nominee and he is going up against Hillary.
All right. Brendan, thanks for joining us on the Wake Up Call. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Brendan Bordelon, political reporter for the National Review, on the Wake Up Call this morning at 7:35. Coming up next, Medal of Honor recipient, Clinton Romesha. All right, so if you're one of those folks that, you're out there, you're working away at going to your job and trying to put money away for your family and doing the right thing, and you've been dealing with financial issues, maybe student loans, maybe medical bills have wiped you out, student loans potentially, and then your car breaks down and you go, man, I don't have the money to do this. Well, Guaranteed Discount Chevrolet has the Good People with Bad Credit program where they can help you get into a safe, quality, reliable vehicle in 48 hours or less and help you not only get to work doing what you're trying to do, but also it'll help you get your credit back online. Give them a call, 541-998-2333, 541-998-2333. Robert Sloan gets you the loan at Guaranteed Discount Chevrolet.
The Bloomberg Market Report, sponsored by Pacific Continental Bank, serving your business and community in Eugene for over 40 years.
This is a Bloomberg Market Minute. Stimulus is on Wall Street's mind in Japan. The Dow down 53 points, the Nasdaq up 9, and the S&P down a point after Japan's central bank said it wouldn't go ahead with more stimulus, a day after the Dow and S&P rose on news that the U.S. central bank would take it easy on interest rate hikes. The nation's economy grew in the first quarter at the slowest pace in 2 years. GDP rose at a 0.5% pace, 2 ticks below the forecast by economists surveyed by Bloomberg. And new unemployment claims are still around 4-decade lows, rising by less than forecast last week to 257,000. Shrek is getting a new boss. Comcast confirms reports that it will acquire DreamWorks Animation for $41 a share cash, or $3.8 billion. A big deal in the medical devices industry. Abbott Labs is buying St. Jude Medical, best known for its pacemakers, for $25 billion. I'm Adrienne Mitchell, Bloomberg Radio.
Pacific Continental Bank is proud to call the Eugene-Springfield area home for more than 40 years. As your local banker, partner, and neighbor, we are committed to the health and sustainability of your business and our community. We know it takes more than a loan or deposit to help you succeed. It takes people who know you, your business, and your community. Who says we can't be more than a bank? Pacific Continental Bank, the right bank. Learn more at therightbank.com. Member FDIC.
The Albany Gun and Knife Show, produced by Wes Nodell, is this weekend at the Lynn County Fairgrounds. It's a firearms shopping paradise. Plus, enter to win a Pink Thunder Technologies AR-15 carbine. This weekend at the Lynn County Fairgrounds, just $7 at the door.
For the all-new John Deere riding mowers, tractors, and side-by-sides, think Ramsey Waite.
Make tracks to Ramsey Waite for John Deere lawn tractors and zero-turn mowers.
There's nothing like a John Deere Gator utility vehicle. From hardworking and trail-ready to the ultimate in work capability. Get into a Gator now at Ramsey Waite.
Don't just dream about it, wait for it.
Ramsey Waite.
Open Monday through Saturday. Franklin Boulevard, Glenwood. Online at RamseyWaite.com.
It's radio you can watch. The Wake Up Call with live video streaming from the Widmer Brothers studio every weekday morning from 6 a.m. to 9. Go to KPNW.com and click on the Wake Up Call streaming banner. The Wake Up Call and Widmer Brothers, the local guys.
Like to read? Then you should know that St. Vincent de Paul sells more books than anyone in Lane County. Yes, you heard me right. St. Vincent de Paul sells more books than anyone in Lane County. So if you're looking for a good book at a great price, visit one of our many locations today. We think you'll be pleasantly surprised. St. Vincent de Paul, where you can have some fun, save some money, and do something nice for your neighbors. St. Vincent de Paul. We're in the phone book.
This message is sponsored by St. Vincent de Paul in association with Eugene area radio stations. Ears.
KPNW weather, brought to you by Ramjack West. Do you have foundation problems? Ramjack can fix that. Get your free quote at ramjackwest.com.
Good morning to you and yours. If you're headed out that door in the next few minutes or you're already out and about, we do have mostly cloudy skies. Temps right now are in the mid to low 40s with light winds out of the northwest at 5 to 10. And I am tracking some light fog off and on out there. Now, I expect that to burn off by 10 a.m. Now, we do have high pressure moving over the area, but it is very weak. That means this afternoon we'll see partly cloudy skies, about a 20 or 30% chance of a few isolated showers late in the afternoon, but no real accumulation. Temps look to be in the mid to upper 60s as that high pressure starts to shoot these temps up. Now, as we move into the nighttime, we're looking at mostly cloudy skies moving back into the area, and we are tracking the next storm system set to bring in some light rain Friday afternoon, but your weekend still looks almost perfect with sunny skies and temps back in the 70s. I'm Chief Meteorologist Chris Nation in the NBC 16 Weather Center, hoping you have a fantastic day.
Holloway in London, your infomaniacs on News Radio 1120 KPNW.
News Radio 1120 720 KPNW. It is 7:41, and it is my pleasure to introduce you to former Staff Sergeant Clint Romeshay, joining us on the Wake Up Call this morning. He is a Medal of Honor recipient, and he's with us right now on the Wake Up Call. He is the author of the new book, Red Platoon, A True Story of American Valor. It is published by Dutton, and he joins us now. First off, Clint, thanks for thank you for your service to our country. Thank you so much.
No, appreciate it. Thank you for having me on today.
Our pleasure. Very difficult to know really where to even start with this particular book, because it does deal with, of course, the events that took place leading up to eventually you being awarded the Medal of Honor. My first question would be, the book itself, was the book written as much to kind of, I don't know, be a catharsis for what you had gone through, or was it more, for the families of those that were there, and a number of men lost their lives, and we'll talk about in a moment. What was the reason behind even writing the book?
One of the main things was talking to the families of the 8 men we'd lost, and the guys that I'd served with that day, the 52 other Americans. They thought, and they kind of encouraged me that, one of the best ways to tell and to remind people of the service and sacrifice is that first-person perspective. Initially I was a little hesitant on diving into something like this and putting it on paper, but they were absolutely true that the only time those 8 men are really forgotten is when we forget them, and that's when they're truly gone. But after talking to the families and the men I served with, I offered back to them that if I do this is not going to be a book of Clint Romeshay. This is going to be a story of the platoon, of those that can no longer tell the story, and it's going to take their involvement so we can tell this first-person perspective and a very clear, or as clear as possible, 360 perspective of everyone there that day. A 13-hour firefight with so much going on, one person just can't see it all and can't remember it all. So to have that perspective and those first-hand eyewitness accounts and doing face-to-face interviews with a lot of the guys I'd served with also helped the structure and give them the voice and give them the recognition that they truly deserve, which fills in more of the stuff that when you're talking to another veteran, it's not really about the words that are actually being spoken at times. It's more about the body language and the silence in between the statements that really is the bigger message.
Well, one of the things I was going to mention is I don't know if you had ever considered a career in writing. This is a very well-written, compelling book. Amazingly well-written. Is that something that you had aspired to before, was to write, I don't know, journalism or anything like that?
I'd never really thought of it. I joined the military to be a soldier, and just relied on the lessons learned in the military that can be translated through so many different other aspects of life, it's great to see that not just, it's happened to me, but you see that in the veteran community all the time as they continue service and they learn what they learned in the military and they apply it to time afterwards to continue to go forward and make a difference for tomorrow and continue their just personal progression with those lessons learned.
All right, let's talk about the event itself, and we're talking about the siege that you referred to at Combat Outpost Keating. Before I had even read this book, I literally was doing what most people do. I was flipping through the pages and came across a photograph that is in here of the actual Combat Outpost Keating. And as soon as I looked at the photograph, the first thing, and I'm not a military person, the first thing I said was, that looks like the worst possible place that you could build an Army outpost in enemy territory. you say in the book that essentially it was built at the bottom of a toilet bowl, meaning that you're surrounded pretty much on all sides by hills, mountains. I mean, you're literally at the mercy of whoever is above you shooting down at you. And not only that, but you've got a river that appears to be, or a convergence of a couple of rivers that are cutting you off on about 2/3 of the rest of the area around the camp. Who in the hell in their right mind put that camp there and decided that that needed to be where a camp was?
You know, Combat Outpost Keating was less than ideal for a strategic location, and it kind of came to be about because of the push north on the initial invasion. Really, Outpost Keating was going to be a quick staging area to refit and refuel as the military moved and continued to move north. But with the conflict that started in Iraq, the surge going on, you know, we only have so many helicopters, so many Humvees, so many soldiers to put on the ground. But as efforts got shifted, Keating then became, the farthest northern U.S. presence in Afghanistan, sitting there on the northeast corner of the Nuristan province. And, you know, to continue to support the Afghani people, the Nuristani government, you know, you still need a presence there. But it's kind of a test, though, and a statement that, you know, right now we live in an all-volunteer army, that these great men and women that are serving today, you know, they do it freely and willingly. They raise that right hand to say, I'll go and do and serve the needs of this country. And when they do that, they also give up that freedom and that ability to say, look, I'm getting put in a pretty crappy position, pretty difficult situation, but they rise to the challenge every time to accept it. Look, this is out of my control. I can only affect what I can, and I can't control stuff that's not in my power, but I'm going to do everything I possibly can to watch out for my brothers and sisters to my left and right. And that's something I think is we, the American people, need to be reminded of, that when we do send these great men and women overseas, that their positions that they put in can be less than ideal, and that's the sacrifice they're more than willing to give up to make sure we maintain our freedom and way of life in this country.
All right, you mentioned that there were 52 men on base at the time of this attack. How large was the force that attacked you of very well-armed Talibanis? And by the way, it should be mentioned, and you make a point of this in the book, it was very well planned. How many actually attacked Keating?
You know, the estimates that came in shortly after from the quicker action force that came off the mountain that seen some of the enemy's casualty collection points, a lot of the overhead air coverage that was able to track enemy troop movement, they estimated we got hit with approximately 300 Taliban fighters that were very well organized, that knew what they were doing, that understood. They maneuvered on us just like we were trained. Small individual tactics of shoot, move, and communicate. They were committed and dedicated, and were very well trained and had their homework definitely done before they hit us.
Reading the book, how many of the 52 that were on that were in Keating, how many of them actually didn't get wounded? At least wounded. I mean, as you mentioned, 8 lost their lives. I mean, you were badly wounded. How many didn't? Who walked away without any wounds from that?
Well, I'm probably better at writing than I am at math. I know we walked away with 38 Purple Hearts coming out of there.
Amazing. What? Talk a little bit about what it was that you did. And it should be mentioned that in your particular position as a staff sergeant, you make the point in the book that you're kind of like an offensive coordinator. You're not on the field. You're off making sure that the other resources are there for the people on the field to be able to do their job. But when push comes to shove, as in the case here, when you had now at one point the Taliban literally inside the wire, in other words, they had made it into Keating, you step onto the field at that point to become the new quarterback. When that happened, how dire was the situation at that point when you were put in the positions like, okay, Clint, you got to step up?
You know, it was, you know, our military, our fighting forces are some of the best trained that this world and history has ever seen. It's a testament that of the profession that we're in. And, you know, that day, you know, as a staff sergeant, you know, the military teaches you need to learn 2 jobs above your pay grade, but you got to know every job below it as well and be proficient in every skill level that you came up to that point. And it's just as things that went on in the situation, I mean, just was, I mean, deteriorating on a almost seemed like secondly basis. You know, it doesn't matter what rank you are. You know, it doesn't matter what background you've got. You know, when you see a need for action, you got to step up and do the right thing. That's the great thing about these great men and women that serve. That's the great thing about this country is you see it time and time again where an action is needed, people are there to step up and rise to the occasion and accept that challenge and push forward through it.
All right. And what exactly was it that you did to push through it after you had already been wounded that made folks stop and say, Clint deserves a little bit more, if you will, acknowledgement for what he did in terms of receiving a Medal of Honor?
You know, as the day kind of went by, and like I said, we had realized that we had to isolate a Humvee. We could no longer control or get access to those 5 men that were out there. We huddled up, and the call was going to be to kind of pull in a tight perimeter to what we ended up calling the Alamo position. My mindset at that time was, you know, we've got men that are isolated. We don't know where their location is. We don't even know if they're still alive or not. And I know if the roles were reversed, if I was up at that Humvee where Gallegos and Mace and Martin and Ty and Larson were, they would do everything in their power to come get me. And simply came up with a plan instead of, you know, sitting here and, you know, kind of taking it. Let's go on the counterattack. We were running out of ammo, so we had to lead an assault into the enemy to reestablish our ammo supply point so we could continue to have bullets to keep fighting. The next step was leading the assault and spearheading into the front gate, which the enemy had breached, because if we couldn't shut that, you know, they could just openly just stroll right in through and keep coming within almost hand-to-hand combat range on us. And most importantly is once we got that secure, we needed to bring back our fallen heroes and make sure that everyone gets to come home, and leading a charge across open terrain to collect up those great men that gave up more than could ever be asked of them, so they could return home.
Well, you mentioned, you know, about those men that died there, and to make sure they returned home, there was another aspect of retrieving their remains that was very important too, and that has to do with the way that the Taliban treated American remains, correct?
It was the mentality of hearing some of the other stories that had went on, knowing kind of the background stories of, you know, Sal Junta, the very first living recipient, reading his story in the Army Times of him, you know, the Taliban fighters carrying off one of his brothers. That was a huge propaganda thing for him. The enemy had known that, you know, that if they can get inside your wire, that the Americans would be pretty hesitant to drop on ourselves to protect that final line. And if you could do a quick snatch and grab, to have a U.S. soldier, to put him on the internet as propaganda, it just absolutely sickened all of us to ever think that could be possible. And it didn't matter what. We were going to do everything in our power to make sure that they could never get our brothers.
Other vets that we have talked to in the past talk about the confusion that takes place in the middle of an action, and in this case where you literally are being attacked from 360 degrees, not only at ground level, but from up above with snipers up above. You're dealing with RPGs coming from every direction. As a matter of fact, you personally were blown off of a generator by an RPG as you were trying to lay down some machine gun fire on the enemy. Talk about that particular confusion and how afterwards it's still difficult to figure out what really happened at the time.
It's the fog of war is, what you call it. And that was really the reason of the way the story is laid out, by getting the perspective from those other guys around me. When what we very quickly realized is certain things of that day, what we thought took just a couple of minutes as we started discussing and trying to lay out this timeline, what was 5 minutes was really an hour, and what seemed like took 2 hours was 30 seconds. And it's just so confusing at times, and memories fade, and certain things get sharper. That time up at the generator, I'd made one of the biggest cardinal mistakes that I'd always tried to preach to my soldiers that were under me is don't get the tunnel vision. You got to keep your head on a swivel. But we were so concentrated with trying to get Gallegos and those other 4 men out of that Humvee to come back to relative safety that the enemy had breached that front gate and flanked us on the right side. And, as soon as that RPG hit, I think my lucky stars that it didn't do more damage. Take luck any chance I could get. But it really put in perspective that, we're in a serious way here, and we got to, make sure we continue to put our heads on swivels and understand that there's so much craziness going on, but we just got to take one more step. We don't have to do everything at once, just take that next step, and from there, that's where we design the plan to take back the ammo supply point. The next step to shut the front gate, and the final step to recover our heroes.
We've only got about a minute left. There's so much to talk about. This book, to read it, is so complicated, but all laid out in a way that it makes total sense. If you would like to mention your fallen fellow soldiers, feel free to do so, because they gave the most in that particular fight.
Yeah, I mean, if it wasn't for the service and sacrifice of Sergeant Martin, Sergeant Gallegos, Sergeant Kirk, Sergeant Hart, Specialist Scusa, Specialist Mace, Specialist Griffin, and PFC Thompson, if it wasn't for those 8 great men, I wouldn't be here today. And we owe everything to their memory and their honor, and to remember their families that no longer have their son or husband or father anymore. And like I said, they're not truly gone until we've forgotten them. And being able to do Red Platoon was a way to make sure that story continued on, and it was a way to really bring them back home, their final spot.
It is a very well written book. Red Platoon, A True Story of American Valor. Clinton Romachet joining us on the Wake Up Call, recipient of the Medal of Honor. The book is great. And Clint, thanks again for your service. Thanks for joining us on the Wake Up Call. Thanks for sharing a little bit of your story this morning.
Depend on us for breaking news from the local neighborhood to the global one. We are News Radio 1120 KPNW, Eugene, Springfield.
Fox News Radio, I'm Lisa Brady. Tough questions in the fight against ISIS.
Are we getting ahead of the threats and problems we face? Or are they getting ahead of us?
Senator John McCain chairing the hearing that has the U.S. Defense Chief on the Capitol Hill Grill. Fox Radio's Rachel Sutherland live in Washington.
Lisa, Defense Secretary Ash Carter says the Pentagon is trying to stay ahead of ISIS in Iraq and Syria, and says additional forces that are being deployed will
help expand our ongoing efforts to identify, train, and equip capable, motivated local anti-ISIL forces inside Syria.
Secretary Carter also hinted that with the help of the U.S. military, Iraqi security forces are preparing to retake the city of Mosul, the largest Iraqi city, still under ISIS control since the group swept through 2 years ago. Lisa?
Meantime, Rachel, Vice President Joe Biden making an unannounced trip to Iraq, where a political crisis is hampering the ISIS fight. Bombs dropping in Syria overnight, despite an ongoing ceasefire. Fox Radio's Jessica Gallagher live in our East Bureau.
Lisa, the Syrian opposition is accusing Damascus and its ally, the Kremlin, of targeting civilians and hospitals in northern Aleppo as Syria's government tries to retake the city from rebels. Damascus has yet to respond. At least 27 people are dead, including patients and staff, after airstrikes hit a Doctors Without Borders affiliated medical facility. Monitors and rights groups say at least 60 people have been killed in Aleppo in the past 24 hours. Lisa.
Thanks, Jessica. Carly Fiorina suddenly back in the presidential race as Ted Cruz's running mate.
What I know about Ted Cruz is he is a real conservative who doesn't sacrifice his values and his principles, who does what he says he's going to do.
Cruz trying to win Indiana next week as a springboard to winning enough delegates to stop Donald Trump from hitting the magic number before the GOP convention. Legendary Hoosiers coach Bobby Knight stumps with Trump today in Bloomington. Fox News Radio, fair and balanced.
Here's an idea. Instead of waiting for your boss to give you a raise, give yourself one by refinancing your mortgage with Quicken Loans. You could add hundreds of dollars each month to your bottom line, like a boss. Call 800-QUICKEN today or visit us online at QuickenLoans.com. A Quicken Loans refinance gives you the financial power to enhance your life and pursue your passion. Our passion is client service. Here's the proof. For 6 years in a row, J.D. Power has ranked Quicken Loans highest in the nation in customer satisfaction. And for the second year in a row, they've also ranked us highest in mortgage servicing. Call 800-QUICKEN and buy in. Again, that number is 800-QUICKEN. Quicken Loans. Home buy, refi, power. Visit jdpower.com for award information. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLSconsumeraccess.org number 3030.
Tornado rips through a small trailer park community in suburban Houston.
I could just hear my dad screaming from across the house, "It's a tornado, it's a tornado, everybody get down, it's a tornado."
Leaving Tomball residents in shock.
You can't imagine until you're standing in front of it to see a house just cut in half by a tree. It's unreal.
No word of injuries at that location after days of storms in the nation's midsection. Meantime, parts of the West still getting spring snow in the mountains. Massachusetts, the latest state to consider raising the legal age to buy cigarettes to 21. The state Senate debates it today. A similar bill already on the governor's desk in California. Right now, Hawaii is the only state with a minimum age of 21 for tobacco products. The Massachusetts bill would exempt anyone who's already 18 when it takes effect. The U.S. economy not chugging along at as fast a pace in the first quarter.
There was slow growth at the start of this year, the weakest pace in 2 years. The gross domestic product expanded just 0.5% from January through March. The report is the weakest since the beginning of 2014. Businesses trimmed investment by the biggest amount since the Great Recession. Since the recovery began almost 7 years ago, the GDP has been weak in the first quarter of each year and rebounded in the spring. Economists believe the same will happen this year. Ginny Cosola, Fox News.
A warrant's a warrant, even if it's for failing to return a videotape. That's what got James Myers arrested in North Carolina, the place he rented it from 14 years ago, not even in business anymore.
So I've laughed more this month than I have in, a long time. But at the same time, I've lost sleep.
The judge did dismiss the case.
Okay, he left. Thank God. He left.
Police discovered the warrant when Myers was pulled over for a broken taillight. Wall Street right now, stocks are mixed. The Dow is down about 30 points, but the S&P and the NASDAQ are higher. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News Radio.
KPNW, welcome into hour number 3 of the Thursday go-round from the Widmer Brothers Studios. 11:20 KPNW with partly cloudy and some afternoon cloud cover. 62 for the temperature high. We're at about 52 right now at KPNW. You hear Mr. Romachet and you hear his story and you hear people, in society complain about, their internet going out or their cable preventing them from watching a TV show, on and on. People that go through experiences must just kind of shake their head. I mean, some people probably can internalize it and just let it beat off, but some people, it's got to be a little bit of a task to keep, from saying things, because it's all proportionate, and what it is crisis in our day to day compared to what other people have gone through. is, we'll just say, maybe a little bit on the insignificant in comparison. Gary Conley coming up. Out of curiosity, let's take a phone call. KPNW, good morning.
Hey, good morning. Great interview.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks for calling. All right, newsworthy. What is making the cut today?
Okay, we'll have these stories coming up in just a couple of minutes. We're going to be, of course, recapping the fact that we have a couple of presidential candidates. They're going to be stomping around the state today, trying to gather some crowds and some support from the upcoming Oregon primary. We'll take a look at the City Council of Eugene, which has said, well, maybe we'll scale back a little bit on our new Taj Mahal that we're going to be building in terms of a city hall. We'll take a look at that story and more, all coming up here on News Radio 1120 KPNW.
Now, this morning's wake-up call with the latest news. Now, this morning's wake-up call with the latest news from the North.
This tip of the week brought to you by Neurospine Institute.
Runners should take proper precautions such as warming up and stretching to avoid injuries, but no one is immune. Running injuries usually happen when you push yourself too hard or ignore pre-existing conditions. The way your body moves also plays a role. Neurospine Institute's Runners Clinic is conveniently located right here in Tracktown, USA. Their team of professionals can help you avoid common injuries and treat those that already exist. Using specialized diagnostic techniques and software, they will examine your movement patterns and implement a plan of care to improve performance and reduce pain.
Are you living with chronic pain? The specialists at Neurospine Institute can diagnose the problem and develop a personalized treatment plan to address your symptoms. Their comprehensive services include clinical and surgical procedures, sports medicine, physical therapy, medical imaging, and pain management. Neurospine Institute's medical professionals will work closely with your primary care or referring physician to ensure that you receive the best care and treatment. They serve all of Western Oregon with 2 locations, the main campus in Eugene and their Roseburg Clinic. Visit neurospinellc.com today and get your life back.
Burrito Amigos salutes the letter T. In English, T usually denotes the voiceless alveolar plosive, as in the words tap and tame, or taco, torta, and tostada, which really aren't English words, but if you're going to use examples, they should be delicious. And if they start with a T and they come from Burrito Amigos, well, they are. Now you can have your tortas, tacos, and tostadas with chicken, shredded beef, carne asada, made with certified Black Angus, or adobada, an amazing, spicy, tasty grilled pork. And none of those selections have the letter T, but Carnitas does. So if you're a voiceless alveolar plosive purist, then you'll enjoy that in your Burrito Amigos torta, taco, and tostada. In case you're wondering, a torta is sort of a grilled sandwich made on torta bread. Tamales and taquitos are also delicious Burrito Amigos T words. So is tofu, which some people want in their burritos from Burrito Amigos. Burrito Amigos, they didn't invent the letter T, they just made examples using it more delicious. Burrito Amigos, the friendly ones, working their way through the alphabet, one tasty treat at a time.
Now, this morning's wake-up call with the latest news from the Northwest and your neighborhood on News Radio 1120 KPNW.
Good morning. This look at the news brought to you by Burrito Amigos, the friendly ones, featuring great breakfast burritos and fresh brewed, locally roasted coffee for a tasty start to your morning. Here's what's going on. 2 candidates for the White House are going to be in Oregon today. Brad Ford has the details.
Presidential candidate Bernie Sanders will be in the Eugene area. He'll hold a rally at Island Park. He comes to Oregon after losing 4 of the 5 primary elections on Tuesday. This will be Sanders' 3rd visit to the Northwest. The rally's free and open to the public. They're asking you to RSVP on the Sanders website. Republican presidential candidate John Kasich will be in Portland for a town hall-style event. This follows the announcement that Kasich will focus on Oregon and New Mexico, while Ted Cruz will focus on Indiana in an attempt to take delegates from Donald Trump, who won all 5 states in Tuesday's primary. Brad Ford, KPNW.
Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders is expected to take the stage in Eugene around noon today, just a couple of hours before Republican John Kasich's town hall in Portland. The Eugene City Council voted to scrap its $1 million upgrade to the yet-to-be-built Eugene City Hall, and along with that, decided to toss out having private offices for the 8 city councilors. This after the city's project manager had reported the cost of the new city hall would run about $25 million, or between $6 and $7 million more than the $17.85 million the council had authorized for building the new structure. However, the savings are not going to be $6 million. It'll be about, like we said, $1 million. The new estimate is now currently being figured by the city manager's office. According to the city project manager, the new, much higher dollar amount is being driven by what he refers to as construction inflation and the cost overruns of demolishing the old city hall. But of course, once we get a firm budget on this, there will be no cost overruns building the new Taj City Hall. More than 1,000 workers at Peace Health Sacred Heart Hospitals in Springfield and Eugene ratified their first union contract. Members of the Service Employees International Union Local 49 voted to approve the 3-year contract. It covers cooks, housekeepers, certified nursing assistants, and other workers at Sacred Heart Medical Center in Riverbend and Springfield and Sacred Heart Medical Center in the University District. Peace Health Vice President for Labor and Caregiver Relations, Deborah Miller, says the contract takes effect immediately, while most raises and incentive pay raises take effect July 1st. The union contract includes an across-the-board 8% wage increase for all service workers. Next year's legislative session is 9 months away, but Oregon lawmakers are already working on a transportation package to ram through. Brad Ford has more.
Legislative leaders have formed a joint committee to develop a transportation package that will be considered in next year's session. Democrats control both chambers, so Democrats are co-chairs, Republicans are vice chairs. Senator Peter Courtney says there's a lot of work to do, and they need to start now. They'll tour transportation trouble spots and hold hearings outside of Salem. They'll consider highways, bridges, ports, and rail connections in need of repair and modernizations. The governor's not saying how much she's willing to spend. The money would come from higher gas taxes, registration, and license fees. I'm Brad Ford, KPNW.
A coalition of grocers say they're dropping their November ballot proposal that would allow grocery stores to stock their shelves with liquor. The Northwest Grocery Association says it'll shift its focus and resources on defeating another ballot proposal, Initiative Petition 28. It would impose massive tax hikes on businesses grossing over $25 million a year. The tax hike proposal would raise an additional $2.5 billion a year from Oregon businesses. It's the most controversial proposal heading to Oregonians this fall. Labor unions are backing the tax proposal. They're still gathering signatures. Of course, all of this is to pay, of course, for PERS. Grocers say they'll tackle the liquor privatization issue again within the next year. Republican Senate candidate Sam Carpenter has endorsed Donald Trump for president.
The American people are angry, and we need somebody to turn over the apple cart in Washington.
Carpenter's support for the Donald is rooted in themes both men have espoused during their respective campaigns so far.
The House and the Senate are full of career politicians who don't get anything done. They talk and they talk and they talk. And the theme of this campaign is that we're going to cut through political correctness.
The Bend businessman hopes to meet Trump when he visits the state prior to the May 17th Oregon primary election. 2 Malaysian nationals have been sentenced to prison for smuggling endangered wildlife into Oregon. Brad Ford has that story.
In 2013, federal officials did a routine search of a package that was being shipped to a house in Forest Grove, and they found a mandible from a helmeted hornbill. That's an endangered species. Federal agents started ordering more wildlife from 2 men in Malaysia. They bought 3 orangutan skulls, 4 helmeted hornbill skulls, and parts from several other endangered species worth $95,000. The 2 men eventually traveled to Portland, where they were arrested. They have been sentenced to 6 months in prison, fines totaling $25,000, and 240 hours of community service. Brad Ford, KPNW.
As more states and cities phase in new laws raising wages to at least $15 an hour, they're learning how difficult it can be to make sure tens of thousands of businesses are actually paying their workers what the law requires. Most local and state officials have been taking passive approaches to enforcement all around the country, waiting for workers to complain about being cheated rather than auditing company payrolls. The problem is that many workers fear that they're going to be fired if they report on their bosses. Labor activists say the new so-called living wage laws are meaningless unless authorities become more proactive. They estimate that roughly 1 in 4 businesses nationwide are not paying their workers the new so-called living wage. Lawyers for Ammon Bundy say the leader of the Oregon Wildlife Refuge occupation offered after his arrest to plead guilty if charges against other defendants were dismissed, but the deal was rejected. The assertion was made in a pretrial motion filed in federal court yesterday. Bundy was arrested by FBI agents and Oregon State troopers January 26th. More than 24 people have been arrested for the occupation of the Malheur National Wildlife Refuge that began January 2nd and ended with surrender of the last 4 February 11th. Bundy attorney Mike Arnold says his client offered on the 29th to plead guilty, that 29th of January, to plead guilty to a federal conspiracy charge if charges against the others were dropped. That proposal was rejected a day before the last occupiers gave up. Police agencies all around the state are participating in the DEA's National Prescription Drug Take-Back Day this Saturday. Beaverton officer Mike Rowe says from 10 a.m. to 2, officers are going to take your unwanted meds, no questions asked.
If you have any prescription drugs or even over-the-counter drugs, just come to the police department. Just drive through. You'll have officers that'll be willing to just take the drugs from you right there at your driver's side window.
Rose says it's important to keep the meds away from kids and teens and to avoid contaminating the water table by flushing them down the toilet. They will not take illegal drugs, IV solutions, syringes, needles, or thermometers. If you want to find a participating police agency drop-off site near you, simply hit up DEA.gov. 11 volunteers from the Red Cross Cascades region are in Texas helping residents recover from flooding. Teresa Grimes from Bend says that for many people, everything was ruined.
They have nothing left on the inside of the house. We're pulling everything out, the drywall, the furniture, the rugs, appliances, everything is just out at the curb. It's totally destroyed.
The Red Cross provides emergency supplies, temporary shelter, and counseling. Since September, or make that April 18th, they've opened up 11 shelters. Volunteers spend an average of 11 days working in a disaster area at the cost of $1,600 each. The Red Cross says the best way to help is by making a donation on their website. Well, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers Northwestern Division has reached a determination regarding a set of ancient remains known as the Kennewick Man. The remains are now considered Native American under the Native American Graves Protection and Repatriation Act, or NAGPRA. According to Michelle Coffey with the Army Corps of Engineers, all the tribes that laid claim before the decision, well, are out of luck.
The Nez Perce, the Umatilla, the Yakima Nation, the Colville tribe, and the Wanapum Band. Because this is now a new determination, we will actually need a new claim submitted.
As for what's next for Kennewick Man, also known as the Ancient One, the Corps will review the priority of custody for any Native American tribe that submits a claim. That includes a cultural affiliation review, which more simply put means they're going to try to figure out which tribe the man is a decedent from. The remains are going to remain at the Burke Museum in Seattle during the process, which could take a very long time. It's 8:20. This look at the news brought to you by Burrito Amigos, the friendly ones. You're up to date from KPNW.
Wake Up Call Sports on News Radio 1120 KPNW.
To say Damian Lillard took a while to get going is putting it lightly. He didn't make his first field goal until the third quarter and scored 16 of his 22 in the fourth. Trailblazers took advantage of no Chris Paul and no Blake Griffin off with injuries to take a 3-2 lead in the series on the 108-98 win over L.A. C.J. McCollum led the Blazers with 27. Mason Plumlee, pretty stout in the middle there. 10 points, 15 rebounds. Trailblazers have a chance to close out the series on Friday in Portland. I think it's safe to say that the Golden State Warriors aren't completely dependent on Steph Curry to be a good basketball team. Without the reigning MVP, the Warriors went on to brutalize the Houston Rockets 114-81. Klay Thompson put down 7 3-pointers en route to a 27-point performance. Rockets get sat down, and the Warriors await the winner of Blazers-Clippers. Charlotte won 2. They've won 3 in a row and take the series over 3-2 on the Miami Heat. Civil War baseball last night at PK. OSU made it interesting, but in the end, Oregon holds on to win 7-6. NFL draft starts tonight. The LA Rams and Philadelphia Eagles have traded off the farm to get the first and second picks of the draft. Expected are names Wentz and Goff to go 1, 2, or some order like that. Word is that Chip Kelly really wants former Duck DeForest Buckner in the 7th pick. That would reacquaint him with former Duck Eric Armstead with the 49ers. Wake Up Call Sports, brought to you by Max Muscle, where you can always try it before you buy it. On Franklin, across from Market of Choice. News time, 8:21.
KPNW weather, brought to you by Ramjack West. Do you have foundation problems? Ramjack can fix that. Get your free quote at ramjackwest.com.
Good morning to you and yours. If you're headed out that door in the next few minutes or you're already out and about, we do have mostly cloudy skies. Temps right now are in the mid to low 40s with light winds out of the northwest at 5 to 10. And I am tracking some light fog off and on out there. I expect that to burn off by 10 a.m. Now, we do have high pressure moving over the area, but it is very weak. That means this afternoon we'll see partly cloudy skies, about a 20 or 30% chance of a few isolated showers late in the afternoon, but no real accumulation. Temps look to be in the mid to upper 60s as that high pressure starts to shoot these temps up. Now, as we move into the nighttime, we're looking at mostly cloudy skies moving back into the area, and we are tracking the next storm system set to bring in some light rain Friday afternoon, but your weekend still looks almost perfect with sunny skies and temps back in the 70s. I'm Chief Meteorologist Chris Nation in the NBC 16 Weather Center, hoping you have a fantastic day.
If you're considering going back to school, ask yourself the following questions. Do you need the flexibility to take classes on your schedule? Do you have college credits you need transferred? Do you want to earn a quality degree from a world-renowned university? If you answered yes to any of these questions, Arizona State University is the perfect school for you. Arizona State University offers over 100 highly ranked degree programs 100% online. You'll earn the same degree as you would on campus, from wherever you are, on your schedule. Plus, ASU Online accepts most transfer credits. For information, call 1-800-400-1942. Learn for yourself why the Wall Street Journal ranks ASU 5th in the nation for producing the best qualified graduates, and why 90% of ASU grads are recruited within 90 days of graduation. Learn to grow, learn to succeed, and learn to thrive at Arizona State University. To learn more about ASU online degrees, call 1-800-400-1942. That's 1-800-400-1942.
This winter, we received more rainfall than in the past 75 years. Severe weather could cause damage to your home's foundation. Ramjack can fix that. Get your free in-home evaluation at ramjackwest.com.
CCB 146906. Built for business. Waiting. No one enjoys it. With Comcast Business, you can do less of it. Because Comcast Business Internet is up to 5 times faster than DSL from the phone company, which means less waiting for things like security backups and file downloads. Plus, it's a better value when you select the fastest plan. So do what nearly 1,000 businesses do every day and choose Comcast Business. Unless you'd prefer to wait. Switch to Comcast Business Internet. Then add 1 voice line and TV for just $34.90 a month for 2 years. And ask about their low price guarantee. Call 800-501-6000 or visit ComcastBusiness.com. That's 800-501-6000. Comcast Business. Built for business.
Offer ends 5/31/16. Restrictions apply. Equipment, taxes, and fees, including broadcast TV fee extra. Compares Comcast 100 megabits per second and 20 megabits per second DSL downloads.
Is it time to sell your house? And do you have work that needs to be done first, but you don't have the money? The bottom line is that when you improve your property, you get more money than other homeowners.
Over the years, Harpole Real Estate with Keller Williams Realty understands this better than any other agent or company because they outsell all other agents. Eric, Jeanette, and their entire team will put up their own money to make sure you get the most out of your house. Their enhanced listing will help clean up, repair, and upgrade your home to get you in the best position to maximize your home sale. Everyone's situation is different, so call for a free no-pressure consultation, 541-286-3030.
Unlike other agents, they offer flexible commissions and an exclusive enhanced listing, and you can cancel at any time. With agents in Lane, Douglas, and Lynn counties, call Harpole Real Estate, 541-286-3030, 541-286-3030, online at harpolehomes.com.
Is your body getting enough protein every day? Try Max Pro at Max Muscle. These protein shakes are packed with protein, very low carbs, and zero sugar. Chocolate malt, strawberry banana smoothie, blueberry, and more. Max Muscle. Try it before you buy it. Franklin Boulevard, across from the Market of Choice.
With River Road Health Mart Pharmacy and their MedSync service, they're able to help you save time and money by coordinating all your prescriptions into one easy monthly pickup.
Managing all my medications didn't fit into my busy schedule, so my River Road Health Mart pharmacist coordinated all my prescriptions into one convenient pickup. Now I only have to make one trip per month. They will even deliver them to my home or work.
Visit River Road Health Mart Pharmacy at 884 River Road in Eugene today. For more information or to transfer your current prescriptions, visit online at pharmacyeugene.com. Health Mart, caring for you and about you.
Anything but typical. Anything but cliche. Anything but routine. The Wake Up Call on News Radio 1120 KPNW.
News Radio 1120 KPNW, where it is 8:20. And today, if you go to the stream, by the way, at kpnw.com, if you look at our video stream that takes place in the Widmer studio, you'll see a very pensive Rob frozen on the screen. For whatever reason, his camera freezes daily, and it's always interesting to note what pose Rob is in. And today, Rob is in his pensive his pensive mode. If you saw the first photographs of Batman that were released from the Superman Batman movie, the one of Batman that spurred all of the memes, that is the look that Rob has on his face.
That's a pretty hefty comparison right there.
Oh, yeah. When you're compared to a comic book character.
Batman.
Pretty hefty.
I thought he was just asleep.
No, if you look at him, he's very pensive. It's
that's the look that you usually see.
That's the look of why did that burn down?
What kind of pudding am I going to have today?
Yeah, exactly. Donuts? I don't know. Anyway, Gary Connolly joining us on the Wake Up Call this morning. So last week we decided, we're going to do a little incorporated new thing where we're going to just kind of introduce a vocabulary word sort of at the beginning of the segment. And you asked yesterday, we were tossing ideas around for a segment, and you asked, by the way, what about the vocabulary word? And I wanted to talk about shell corporations. And more emails ensued, and then we just decided that, okay, we'll define what shell corporations are, but we're just going to talk about corporations in general for the entire segment.
So is that the term today?
Shell corporation.
Okay.
But we're going to leave it till the end.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So corporations.
All right.
A long and varied history, starting back in the 12th, 13th century?
Yeah, back in Venice, when Venice rose to prominence and world trade really started between Europe and China. And the corporate form, or at least the roots of it, have to do with limited liability. Because if you had financed some kind of a venture back before a corporation and it went bad, then it could reach into your entire, what we would now call net worth, all of your assets. I don't know, I suppose at that time they probably could have taken your wife and children too.
Or even worse, your cows and pigs.
Could be. Yeah, could be. So the corporate form basically limits your exposure or liability to whatever you have put in. In other words, whatever capital that you have contributed to the corporation. And at that point, they were basically financing ships, among other things, for trading vessels, and that's where and a lot of those sunk, and pirates got a lot of them, and that's where the term "your ship came from, because it literally did come in. So that's the root of the corporation. And if you look at, if you fast forward to today, again, it's a business form which allows for limited liability, not the only one that allows for limited liability, but it literally is an entity in and of its own that's taxed and, has its own persona, if you will.
All right. Different types of corporations, too, at that.
Well, there are a couple of different types. There's what's called a C corporation, which is literally a standalone entity, and it has its own business and is taxed on its income, and the whatever profits that whoever's running the corporation might decide to send to the shareholders in the form of dividends then is taxed again at the personal level. So that corporate profits really, or distributed corporate profits, are taxed twice. Interest is deductible to the corporation or to any business. Interest income is taxable to the individual. But you really have part of the reason that you have so much debt and so little comparatively equity in today's capital structures is because that the interest is tax deductible. If the dividends were tax deductible and or if the interest wasn't tax deductible, you might have a different structure, and you might have a little bit less risk in some ways. The other type of corporation, which is typically used for much smaller businesses, is called a subchapter S corporation. This refers to parts of the Internal Revenue Code. And that's what's called a flow-through entity, so that the corporation itself doesn't pay any taxes, but whatever profits or losses flow through to the individual owners proportionately to their percentage ownership.
Okay, so on the S Corp, what happens is then, just to make sure that I'm understanding this, is that the corporation itself, the taxes are not, if you will, extracted from the corporation until they actually get back to the guys or gals or gal that owns that particular corporation. So their personal earnings at that point are taxed, but not the corporation.
Right. The corporation doesn't pay any tax at that point. And it wouldn't necessarily have to be an individual that it flowed back to either. I mean, it could be some other kind of corporate entity or partnership.
Is there a limit or a maximum amount of folks that can be involved in any singular S Corp? So, for instance, in corporations, if you're selling shares, technically you've got hundreds, maybe thousands or more people that, are all invested in this particular corporation. Is there a limitation or a ceiling on how many people can be in an S Corp?
There is, but I can't remember what it is. It's somewhere north of 100 now. I think once upon a time it was 10. So that particular limitation, as you point out, would have a tendency to keep some of these businesses a lot smaller than huge corporations, which have attracted all the attention and animosity from politicians and others at this point. But it's important to know that a corporation is, literally a business structure, the original purpose of which is to limit liability or limit your risk to whatever it is that you might have in that particular corporation or business.
Okay, so you want to get to our friend, the Shell Corporation? Or?
Well, I want to make one other point too, and that is that for certain types of risky ventures, as back in Venice and other kinds of things, biotechs or what have you, then certainly a corporation is the only way that you're going to be able to raise capital, because people would not be willing to risk their entire economic being on some of these schemes. But part of the reason that we're in the situation that we are now is that some of the large investment banks and broker-dealers, let's take Goldman Sachs, for example, a number of years ago, that went from a partnership, a general partnership, to a corporation. So in a corporate form, it can take all kinds of risks, and as we said, the corporation is the only thing that is the only money that's at risk. Before, these Wall Street firms were general partnerships, and literally the partners, everything that the partners owned, were at risk because of, you could reach back through them. So part of the reason that these companies are so highly leveraged and willing to take so much risk at this point is because, number one, they're so large, and number two, the main owners or the people who are actually running them don't have the same risk that they used to. Personal risk.
Right.
So,
and being too large to fail, when they risk it all and they lose, they know the taxpayer is going to bail them out.
And that's exactly right. And that's part of the reason that we are where we are. So,
all right. Well, with that happy thought, shell corporations.
All right. So a shell corporation is simply a structure that doesn't have any business assets or business operations of its own. It would typically be a depository or an entity that has is a shell for other kinds of business entities. And at this point, it's because it's been used for tax havens and things that are quasi-legal or illegal that the term shell corporation has come to to be in the news. Particularly with the Panama Papers, where you've got corporations formed in Panama, and the only thing that you can tell is that the law firm is the what's called the nominee or the front man for the manager of the corporation. But it's important to know that a shell corporation doesn't say anything about the purpose of it. It's got some legitimate uses also. You might want to use what would be a shell corporation if you were, let's say, running different kinds of real estate ventures and you didn't want your competitors to know quite what you were doing because it'd give away your competitive advantage. There are other times that you wind up with a shell corporation because it was an operating business, but it either sold the operations to somebody else or it failed and went out of business, but the entity still exists. And from time to time, you've seen people buy up shares in a shell corporation that's traded publicly as kind of a backdoor way to go public. So a shell corporation in and of itself is not anything that's
inherently evil or illegal.
Right, or inherent. What you have to do is look through it to see what it's actually doing to the extent that you can tell and what the purpose of it is. Again, it's like a corporation. It's just a business form or a business entity that's got both legitimate and illegitimate purposes. And what I'd submit, whether you're talking about corporations or shell corporations or banks or restaurants or anything else, is that you've got bad people everywhere. So you need to be careful about taking some of these terms, whether it's a corporation, which has is a legitimate form that's helped us get where we are, a shell corporation, or nearly anything else, and understand what it actually is and what it actually means.
All right. Gary Connolly of Connolly Capital on the Wake Up Call. We'll see you next Thursday.
That we shall.
It is News Radio 1120 KPNW, looking at 8:38. All right. I think there's a number of people that need a nap. And I think they need to be napping on a Tempur-Pedic or maybe a Posturepedic or a Stearns & Foster mattress that is delivered to their home by Sleep Train. I think that's what they need to do. I submit to you that this world would be a much better place if everyone had a comfortable mattress. I really believe that. They'd get some more sleep. They wouldn't be as cranky. They wouldn't be out there, for instance, flipping the bird at each other when they drive. It would be a jaunty wave, as in, oh, I understand you accidentally cut me off, as opposed to wishing the person actually would burst into flames at that exact moment. I'm thinking if everybody got a great night's sleep on a Sleep Train mattress, there would be such a thing as world peace. I believe that. Do you disagree with me, Gary?
No, I think there's nothing like a good night's sleep.
There you go. You heard it from Gary Connolly himself. There's nothing like a good night's sleep. That will be inscribed on a plaque somewhere. Thank you, Gary.
Somewhere.
Yeah, somewhere. Head into Sleep Train. You're going to save a bunch of money. You're going to get a great mattress. You're going to get great service. You're going to beat anybody's prices out there up to 100 days after you purchase the mattress. And they're going to deliver it to your house so you can be sleeping on it tonight if you pick up the mattress by 2 o'clock today. And they're going to take the old mattress away. Nice deal. Sleep Train, Albany, Corvallis, Eugene, and Springfield. Tell them Bill and Rob from the Wake Up Call sent you. Please.
The Bloomberg Market Report, sponsored by Pacific Continental Bank, serving your business and community in Eugene for over 40 years.
This is a Bloomberg Market Minute. Stocks have paired early losses. The Dow down just 31 points now, the Nasdaq up 19, and the S&P up a point on a day of deal making. Abbott Labs is buying heart device maker St. Jude Medical for $25 billion. It's the biggest merger ever in the medical devices industry. Abbott makes heart stents. St. Jude is known for its pacemakers. AbbVie, which used to be part of Abbott, is buying a maker of cancer drugs, Stemcentrx, and the Minions and Shrek will now have the same boss. Comcast NBC Universal confirms it's buying DreamWorks Animation for $3.8 billion. The purchase of DreamWorks will expand Universal's animation business. The two are already theme park partners. Shrek is featured at Universal Parks in Florida, California, Japan, and Singapore. Stocks started lower after Japan said it would hold the line on stimulus. Facebook's strong results are helping. Shares are jumping almost 10%. I'm Adrienne Mitchell, Bloomberg.
Keep District Attorney Patty Perlow fighting to protect you. District Attorney Patty Perlow is fair and honest. Before becoming District Attorney, Patty Perlow's tenacity put in prison a former law enforcement deputy who had raped his teenage daughter. As District Attorney, Patty Perlow fights crime and saves taxpayers' money by winning grants to safeguard U of O students, to enforce child support decisions, and to protect victims and witnesses. That's why District Attorney Patty Perlow has won support across the political spectrum, including the Safety and Justice Action Fund, the Lane County Peace Officers Association, the Eugene Police Employees Association, and Sheriff Byron Trapp.
I'm Lane County Sheriff Byron Trapp. I need Patty Perlow in the District Attorney's office to continue her important work for our community and law enforcement.
Paid for by Keep District Attorney Patty Perlow Committee.
Hey, Russell Wilson here, and I know how important exercise is.
It's essential. It's essential.
With Play 60, United Way and the NFL are helping kids stay active and play at least 60 minutes a day.
Healthy kids, healthy kids.
But what this place needs is you. To donate or volunteer, go to unitedway.org/play60 because great things happen when we live united.
Donate.
Are you guys going to do that every time?
Yes, of course. Yes, of course.
Brought to you by United Way and the Ad Council.
Get that flooring project done for less with exclusive deals from Lumber Liquidators. This week, get 20% off more than 50 varieties of North American and European laminate, like gorgeous Alpine Oak. We've lowered prices on our pre-finished 3/4-inch solid hardwood floors. Wide plank solid antique oak is an amazing $199. Solid hickory is just $299. And get beautiful Bellawood $1 off a square foot. Plus more deals from 69 cents and special financing. For the best deals on over 400 floors, visit lumberliquidators.com to find a store near you today.
Pacific Continental Bank is proud to call the Eugene-Springfield area home for more than 40 years. As your local banker, partner, and neighbor, we are committed to the health and sustainability of your business and our community. We know it takes more than a loan or deposit to help you succeed. It takes people who know you, your business, and your community. Who says we can't be more than a bank? Pacific Continental Bank, the right bank. Learn more at therightbank.com. Member FDIC.
I'm Jeremy.
And I'm Chris with Home Comfort. When we say the one to call,
the one means no matter what the problem.
From security lighting, generator systems, panel change-outs, service upgrades, with technicians available 24/7.
Or HVAC, from routine cleanings to breakdowns. Home Comfort's locally supported by Mitsubishi Electric. So their Mitsubishi Electric factory-trained technicians will ready your house for any season.
Make one call to 541-345-2838.
Home Comfort, the one to call.
Message and data rates may apply.
Hey guys, ever wonder why getting into shape isn't as easy as it was when you were 25? Well, it's not your fault, it's Mother Nature's. Because once you hit 45, your body has less youth-boosting free testosterone, and that can make it harder to get into shape. That's why you need Nugenix. Nugenix is a unique man-boosting formula powered by Testofen, a patented key ingredient clinically researched to help boost your free testosterone levels. Nugenix helps you feel stronger and more energetic, more passionate too. Get a complimentary bottle now by texting STRONG to 99000. Nugenix is so effective it won GNC's Innovative Product of the Year and was also named GNC's #1 selling men's vitality product. Get yourself back into shape and be more of the man you want to be with award-winning Nugenix. Nugenix is available at many fine retailers, but you can only get your complimentary bottle by texting STRONG to 99000. Again, text STRONG to 99000.
I've been teaching organic chemistry for the last 17 years, so I'm pretty good with complex calculations. But when I started thinking about my retirement, I was pretty stumped. Luckily, I have TIAA as my financial partner. Together, we retrosynthetically analyzed my financial future, which is organic chem speak for we figured it out.
See how we're helping those who do good do well at the new TIAA.org. TIAA, created to serve, built to perform.
What is it about buying a mattress that leaves you feeling violated? Pushy salespeople, fake sales, the walk of shame out of the mattress store? Those days are over. Hi, I'm Christian von Rickenbach, co-founder of Helix Sleep, where you can buy a mattress online, customized for you, for hundreds of dollars instead of thousands. Go to helixsleep.com, answer a few simple questions, and we build you the most comfortable mattress you'll ever sleep on. Shipping is free, and you have 100 nights to try it out. Go to helixsleep.com/go and get $50 off your order. That's helixsleep.com/go.
KPNW weather brought to you by Ramjack West. Do you have foundation problems? Ramjack can fix that. Get your free quote at ramjackwest.com.
Good morning. If you're headed out in the next few minutes, we have mostly cloudy skies. Temps right now are in the mid to low 40s with light winds out of the northwest at 5 to 10. I am tracking a few isolated fog banks out there, but I expect those to burn off by about 10 a.m. Now this afternoon, the mostly cloudy skies will become partly cloudy as high pressure does move into the area, but the high pressure is fairly weak and it may allow a few isolated showers to develop late in the afternoon into the evening, but if these get going, we don't really expect any real accumulation out of them, just some light sprinkles. Highs look to be in the upper 60s to the mid 60s, even a couple of low 70s down by Medford, and by the time we get to the weekend, mostly sunny skies and temps back in the 70s, if not low 80s, but we are tracking a very weak storm system that could bring some light showers before that on Friday afternoon. I'm Chief Meteorologist Chris Nation in the NBC 16 Weather Center, hoping you have a fantastic day.
Holloway in London and the Wake Up Call.
News Radio 1120 KPNW.
848 News Radio 1120 KPNW. Not much the clouds with us, as you heard Chris talk about, with the even potential light rain. That's what you got today, but you get through today, tomorrow, into the weekend, really into Monday and the next week. Going to be increasing temperatures, and that sun quotient is going to be awesome. All right, before we get out of here, you've heard us all week long and even last week qualify people for this Cuthbert Season Pass. We're talking about a grand prize where you get to go to a pair of tickets to every single thing that's happening at the Cuthbert. If you are interested in that, let's do caller number 5 right now. 541-485-KPNW, 1-888-KPNW, 888. Works out to be 5769. Again, this is qualifying, getting your name into the hat, as the grand prize will probably, we're talking about tomorrow or Monday. You'll know by Monday if you're the grand prize winner. KPNW, you're caller number 1, 2, 3. KPNW, you're caller number 4, oh so close. Let's welcome to the qualifying circle, not yet the winner's circle, our qualifier, as they are dialing right now and saying good morning to the wake-up call.
Hi.
Can you turn down your radio?
Sure, sorry.
No problem. Who's this?
Jane Finney.
How are you doing this morning?
Good, how are you?
Not too bad. You sound all perky and chipper and stuff.
Oh, I'm chipper. I'm off to work.
Jane,
Wow.
where do you live? What city?
Eugene.
Eugene. Hopefully, yesterday's qualifier had never been to the Cuthbert, and they've lived here quite some time. Have you been there before?
No, I have never been there either.
Really?
My kids have all been there, but I've never been there, and I've lived here 12 years. So.
Wow. Okay. Well, you sound like, are you a Weird Al Yankovic fan?
He's okay, yeah.
That's a no.
Well, no, I am. I was 20 years ago, big fan.
We'll take it.
Okay.
We'll take it.
That works. All right. Well, we're going to have you hang on the line here. We're going to make sure that we get your name and the phone number and all the important information. So thanks for listening this morning. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much. This will be exciting.
All right.
Out of curiosity, where did you live before here 12 years ago?
Down in the coast of California.
Oh, okay.
Pismo Beach area.
Oh, nice. Okay. All right. I thought I was detecting maybe a little Midwestern accent there, or the remnants of. Tomorrow on the show, we'll qualify even more folk, probably the last day that we'll be doing that for the Cuthbert Season Pass. We're talking about Lyle Lovett, of course, Bob Dylan, Mavis. A lot of people, I think, you might have as many people going there to see Mavis Staples than you are Bob Dylan. Sublime going to be there throughout the summer. Cuthbert is a great place to take in a show. Get out there, bring your blanket and some snacks, and maybe even eat there. Check out the website if you want to check out everything that is going on. Cuthbert Season Pass, pretty nifty. Any closing moments? By the way, since we've had a couple of calls and a couple of inquiries, the book that Clinton wrote is called Red Platoon. Clinton Romeshay, who is the Medal of Honor recipient in the 7 o'clock hour. Pretty riveting story. And by all accounts, looks like he's got kind of a second career as a writer.
Yeah, it's well done. I mean, incredibly well done. This is going to be one of those books, and I hate to make the comparison, but this is going to be a Black Hawk Down kind of book. If somebody doesn't take this and make it into a movie, I'm going to be shocked. I mean, really, completely shocked.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to, in terms of writing, I mean, it is, so far of the books that I've read dealing with the wars in Iraq or Afghanistan, it's got them all beat. At least
have you heard any fodder or any buzz about it being turned into a movie?
No. But somebody should. It is an amazing story. You just shake your head and go, man, you want to talk about a bunch of guys in a really horrible situation with no way out, and yet finding a way out. This is the story.
Before we get out of here, just in case you're headed up in the McMinnville area or you're up there headed that direction already, we got a closure. I don't know that I think it's been a while since we've done a traffic check from the McMinnville area, Highway 18 at milepost 49.91, 3 miles west of the Highway 99 West intersection. We got a westbound and an eastbound lane closed. Got a closure there. So hopefully eventually get that reopened. But everything else seems to be working okay. So just let's keep it that way. Enjoy your Thursday. We'll hang out tomorrow, 6:05, hopefully for a little bit of time from the Widmer Brothers Studios. The wake-up call out on KPNW.
For the all-new John Deere riding mowers, tractors, and side-by-sides, think Ramsey Waite.
Make tracks to Ramsey Waite for John Deere lawn tractors and zero-turn mowers.
There's nothing like a John Deere Gator utility vehicle. From hardworking and trail-ready to the ultimate in work capability. Get into a Gator now at Ramsey Waite.
Don't just dream about it, wait for it.
Ramsey Waite.
Open Monday through Saturday. Franklin Boulevard, Glenwood. Online at RamseyWaite.com.
You are a business owner.
I am a business owner.
You want to grow.
That's true. I do want to grow my business.
But you need help.
Especially with how I'm going to grow my business.
So you call U.S. Bank.
Good idea. They'll know how.
Our custom solutions give you what you need to expand.